Okay, let me get this on the Facebook. Yeah, that works. Just loading. Okay, cool. We should be live. Got it.
We are.
So when is your real quick, Jeremy, when is that Christmas episode coming out?
It dropped today.
Today. Okay, cool. I'll listen.
I quickly edited it last night and came up with the title real fast and got out the door. So because had to release it on second day of Krampusnacht. So yeah.
Right.
Oh. And has anybody got any Krampus attire here?
I'm glad
I'm
you
right upstairs.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
in
glad
the
you asked.
process of making 2 Krampus dolls. So I went and bought some Santa Claus dolls at Walmart, and I'm adding oven baked clay to them and painting them and messing them all up. So I almost have them done.
Yeah, I didn't want to be left out, so I'm drinking a Santa Claus beer out of a German Krampus glass from a local brewery here in town. So yes, I cheers you.
Sweet.
Yeah, no, cheers. Krampus mug to Krampus mug. There we
go.
I actually I carved Krampus bells for my older children when they were about 7 or 8. And then we had the neighbor upstairs drop them off. And my middle son actually went into shock, dude. I'm
No
not
way,
joking.
really?
Yeah, like he freaked out to where he wasn't like moving at all for an hour. Don't do that. It seemed like a funny thing, you know, a couple $100 of bribing him later. He finally came out.
Well, you know, it builds character.
Yeah. 2 years ago, I made a Krampus bust and then added like synthetic wool for the fur and everything. And I didn't tell the wife that's what I was staying up and doing. It was up to like 3, 4 in the morning. And then I put it on the mantle in the front room, and she's an early riser. She always has to get up like super early to go to work. And so she got out of the shower, went to the kitchen to make a cup of coffee, turned on the light, and there was just like fucking demonic looking doll thing just staring at her. She freaked out and she's like, "Oh my God, what is that?" I'm like, "That's Krampus." She's like, don't ever do that ever again.
Oh, Scott, you'll be proud of me. Last night, to get my son to do what I wanted, I told him the story of Krampus, and he quickly got up and did exactly what I told him to do. So
there you go.
My kids never actually listened to the story of Krampus. It was just the middle one that went into shock when he thought Krampus was actually coming.
Oh no,
we're talking about, you know, you got to keep your room clean. You got to be a good kid. And then
I used to work in an elementary school, and every year I voted that would be the Christmas movie to show the kids.
Nice, yeah.
They wouldn't do it.
Of course not, damn liberals. But I mean, it's just it's the fact that I didn't even tell them the backstory of Krampus. Even I was like, there's this big hairy Bigfoot looking anti-Santa that's gonna come and put you in a sack and beat you if you don't do what I tell you.
Yeah, I would love to get to a Krampusnacht one day.
I know. To beat the shit out of college kids for no reason, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
Yep. Why not? It's good motivation, you know.
Hey, you get information about the paranormal and folklore and parenting tips. It's just
exactly.
well-rounded.
I mean, that's why Krampus was originally created, right? Like, you know,
yeah, they're all just cautionary tales and not being little bastards and minding their parents. Yeah.
Yeah, I was working in the office today. So I got to wrap my son's Yule lad presents. Still.
Oh, right on.
But
that's cute.
Yeah, we didn't get to do that with the younger kids, but the older kids, but the youngest one gets spoiled for 13 days before Christmas.
Dang, you want to adopt a 37-year-old?
Right.
So why don't you guys tell them about your show real quick before we jump into it?
Yeah, Presto, how would you describe it, man?
Well, we don't do a lot of research. I can tell you that. There's another podcast out there that I forced the wife to listen to that has top notch research, and she always says that it's really dry. Ours has a lot of comedy and humor. So I always tell people I'm more of the bullet points guys. I might not be 100% on the facts, but I cover all the major bullet points, and that's good enough. So if you want to know the unusual, the strange, if you want to know about folklore, we're the place to check it out.
Yeah,
If you want 100% facts, maybe listen to another show.
I like to say, what's that?
Listen to Parcast. I said go listen to Parcast if you want facts.
There you go. Right.
They pay people to get those facts. We don't get paid to look those facts up. So
yeah, our budget's pretty small.
And our budget's not there for us to learn how to pronunciate words correctly. So I mean, there's that too. So
I say that adds to the boyish charm. And I would like to correct you. I say it's either all the research or none. Like, we don't really straddle a fence. It's either sheer determination of like, yes, here's the facts. There's 9 different sources, or it's like, hey, do you remember that one thing we talked about once? Yeah, like Presto said, paranormal, it's like 80, 90% paranormal stories, folklore, the who, what, when, where, why. We're both art nerds, so I mean, there's some history back in there. We kind of sometimes tie it back to art, depending on like if it's Egyptian folklore we're talking about, or Native American, or what have you. But yeah, just in a world full of paranormal podcasts, we are another one.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
Keep yourself away from the herd.
Yeah, right.
You guys you've been around. Like, I started my first podcast back in, I don't know, 2016 or 15 or something. You guys have been around about that long. Have you noticed that after the COVID bubble, like, it was super easy to get listeners back in the day, but have your guys' listeners actually dropped off after COVID?
Man, the problem we have is like, this started off as like just a fun little hobby. So we actually had a third party guy doing our site hosting for us. And I preferred to live in the ignorance of like, we might have 5 listeners. We may have 5,000.
You didn't know?
No, we flew blind.
Oh,
for a little while. I mean, after about a year and a half, he's like, yeah, you have, 200 to 400 active listeners a week. And I was like, shit, that's fantastic. That's about 200 to 400 more than I thought we'd have. And then I just quit kind of paying attention because we weren't going to monetize and all that kind of stuff. And then you fast forward to like, man, 6 years into it, back in August, we decided to kind of separate and take over. But by then there was no way to haul an entire feed from one website to another that was going to be easy enough or worthwhile. So we just started over, man. So now we're kind of like hoping that everybody who listened previously has followed us to our new feed, same name, same everything. But now I'm looking at like baby numbers, like, oh, okay, this episode 1, 15 listeners. Oh man, let's not let that go to our heads. Because that's how you get either real sad or real happy real quick.
And the same thing like on YouTube, I think it depends on the topic, because there are times where I'll create the video so people can listen to it on YouTube, and we'll have 17 views, and then the next video will have 900 views, and then God love the people out there that really, there's this one episode that has to deal with the ghost in the box out of England, and it's got like 4,000 views on it, and I'm just like, that's probably like one of the worst episodes we've ever done. The accents are cheesy. I really didn't do a lot of research. The cover art's got like a conquistador with a afro, a lot of crazy stuff's going on, but it's got 4,000 views. So I'm like, we hit it big. We're done.
I mean, same thing on my solo show. I do, like, it's like some episodes have like no watchers at all on YouTube, and then the one episode with the porn star has like 500 views, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, the least serious episode I've ever done of a freaking paranormal show, and it's freaking just because it has sex in the title, it's freaking 500 people. Jesus.
Yep. See, we'll do those late night shows. We've done about 5 or 6 of them, and I like to say that's what kind of spices it up. Once in a while when things are getting kind of a lull, we just drop some Bigfoot erotica or something in there, and
told you, Scott. Told you.
No, I told them that you were the one you guys were gonna meet up on this.
Yeah, I told you it existed though.
Well,
it's-
boys,
I
I'm leaving
told
it up
you
to
that,
you two.
dude.
One of you guys has to become a porn star, and then we will take off like nobody's business.
There we
You
go.
don't-
Just not
you
Bigfoot
don't-
erotica. We did gnome erotica too, so gnome
Yes.
Dickby is a thing.
I mean, I'm all for
Funny.
the 12 books. I'm all for the 12-book series that some woman wrote about women living with Bigfoot in the woods and making community. So yeah,
Yep. We
all for
read
that.
one. It was like, what was it called, Preston? Maybe the title might not be appropriate, but basically it involved a Bigfoot and a Yeti.
Yeah. Savaged by Bigfoot, ravaged by Yeti.
Yeah.
Oh,
this
I've heard of that
woman-
one. Yeah.
This woman bakes
course.
like bakes a blueberry pie, leaves it on her, windowsill, and Bigfoot's all getting drooly over her pie and a lot of innuendos. And Steve got a little embarrassed when we made him read the parts.
Yeah. So Preston and I have been here since the very beginning. Our buddy Rob is who started the whole show. And then Rob dropped off after about a year, finding out that his whole secret this entire time was he'd been podcasting for like 15 years. So he helped launch the show and then basically like handed it off to us. And he's like, all right, well, I'm done, guys. So
Was he the guy that owned the platform you guys were under before?
So no, that was Mark, and
Okay.
Mark owns Pixelated Sausage, which is why we have the name Pixelated Paranormal, because it just kind of fit the overall theme. Because at the time there was like 3 or 4 shows that were pixelated, whatever. And then Mark and Rob were co-hosts of a couple different shows for years. And then with Mark kind of moving things over to a different direction where he's going to focus on the podcast, a secondary podcast, a video cast, it just came down to where it's like, hey man, I really don't have time to keep posting episodes every week amongst all my stuff. And after about a year of saying that, I finally said we should probably do this guy a solid and move over. But no, Rob lives in Kentucky. He's married and just kind of, out there doing his thing. He still listens and chimes in every once in a while, but no, our buddy Steven, Big Steven, he's our third co-host, our backseat driver, we say. He shows up when he can. He's a mortuary driver, so his schedule is pretty erratic. But yeah, it's fun to talk about, stuff like gnome erotica, just to see him kind of wince and get embarrassed,
So you
Yeah,
guys, you guys do it off of Zoom too, huh?
No, we do it like, it's probably like a really do-it-yourself DIY kind of thing. We record through Discord now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we just do audio, and then the YouTube is just usually some pictures flickering across the screen, and then the audio as well. But we just started doing Zoom. We had a listener out of Oregon who is a really badass toy maker named Bob Drock, and we did a Zoom call with him, and for whatever reason didn't record the visual. But now we're just like, we should probably start doing video. It's been 6 years. Why are we not doing video?
Was
So-
he the guy in your Bigfoot episode in Northern California, or
Let's see here. Bob Drock would have been the Drop Bear episode. He lives up in
Drop Bear? Yeah.
Yeah. He did a toy, several different cryptid toys, and I did the artwork for his Drop Bear that he came out with. So we decided as a launch for him, we would do a whole cryptid encounter about the Drop Bear, which, I mean, it's fake. It's clearly a folklore for tourists, but it's got a lot of fun mythology behind it. And then there's ties to some real life stuff. So, I mean, like any other good paranormal story, there's a little bit of truth in the, the fake.
Scott, like our cocaine cowboy, our cocaine crocodile that was on the cryptid bracket.
I was in Florida, dude. There's a lot of people on meth, but not a lot of
Mhm.
cocaine crocodiles.
Hell, we talked about a
Uh,
meth gator a while back on our show.
Yeah.
I've heard about that one. Yeah. I mean, no, it was a folklore animal from out of, was that of Florida or was that of
I'm pretty
like
sure it was
India?
Florida.
Yeah, it's a crocodile without, but it has no mouth, so it crushes its enemies into powder and then inhale and snorts them.
Totally true.
So-
cryptid.
Booger
Totally
sugar. I
true.
like
If you
it.
wanna learn about that cryptid, we'll do a detailed
Yes, please, because that sounds like a monster that we would like.
I mean, what the hell was it? Van Hoot or something? Like, oh my, I haven't. Now I have to Google it because it's gonna piss me off. It's gonna piss
Also
me
known
off.
as David Bowie.
Yeah.
Well, and there's also that new movie coming out based off of a real life story of the cocaine bear.
And Bear. Yep.
I didn't see that one.
Oh man, the trailer just
man.
dropped.
Oh, my son,
Yeah.
my son did tell me about that. I haven't seen it though. Yeah. I thought he was joking. That's
No.
Oh God, no.
real.
Yeah, it's a real news story, and the movie, of course, based on a true story, in air quotes. Yes, there was a bear in real life, and it did get stoned off cocaine, and that's probably about as much as it's based off of. But it looks like a hell of a good time. It looks awesome.
Well, the bear had a good time, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Every time I've tried that, it's just like you want more. You don't know why you want more. It's just probably
That's
a
why I
pissed
just
off
stick to
bear that ran out.
right.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. It's gonna drive me nuts now.
So, your Christmas is the same as ours, right, Deborah?
Yes, I don't live that far away. Or
Everything's on a different Canada, Scott.
Well, Thanksgiving is. Come on.
I was reading that the Canadian counterpart to Santa Claus tends to knock at the front door versus coming down chimneys.
Well, you know, Canadians are more polite.
That's very true. Yeah, they're not about breaking and
It's
entering.
always come down the chimney for me.
Oh.
No doubt. All right, cool. Heck yeah.
Oh, all right, I found it. It's the Dungovan Huta.
I've
It
heard
sounds
that
German.
name, the Dungovan. That's the cocaine bear.
Cocaine crocodile.
Oh, yeah. I was on the show. That's how I heard.
Yeah, yeah. Scott has so much fun on my cryptid bracket that releases on Christmas that he doesn't even remember it.
Oh, I
Right.
remember all of it, dude. Especially
like
after 5 minutes.
It was just like a good cocaine binge. You don't remember any of it.
Yeah, and the name of that episode may actually be Crocodile Rock.
I still do not like the results of your conspiracy bracket.
You can't change which way people vote, man. Sorry. But-
Skinwalker Ranch, give me
Skinwalker Ranch won because it's the hot topic right now. I mean, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch is one of the most popular paranormal shows ever.
It's a cornucopia of like all sorts of crazy
Everything.
stuff.
It's like the Bridgewater Triangle in the desert.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which-
Do you guys ever do any like on-site investigations and that kind of stuff, or no?
Preston, where did we go? What bridge did we go to?
The Roses Bridge.
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah.
We got a local place here, just north of Wichita, where I forget the folklore.
So well, the folklore is all over the place. So it kind of depends on who you talk to. So the first tale was you have settlers moving in Kansas in the late 1800s, and you have Native American war parties coming in. You have a family who is kind of settling parts of Valley Center, Kansas, along the river right there. They're constantly getting raided. Or Native Americans come in, kill everybody, basically take this baby and drown it in the river. And so the mom is constantly looking for this child. So if you go to Thoreau's Bridge, you'll hear, say like, "Where's my baby? Where's my baby?" And then the other side of the folklore is there was a woman in the late 1800s, a little bit promiscuous, got around a little bit, was screwing around with a married man, got pregnant. The guy was well-to-do in the area and decided like, fuck it, I can't deal with this, and took the baby and like threw it over the river. And then the woman was like, "You're the love of my life, why would you do this?" and jumped off the bridge and committed suicide. And so again, the idea that she's looking for her child, it's I got interested in paranormal investigations right around the time actually I met Sean. God, what was the name of that show on Sci-Fi that we used to talk about all the time?
Monster Quest?
No, it was the one where they do like the reenactments and they
Fact or
bring.
Faked?
No.
Oh, well, I was there. Like, I love Fact or Freak, but
This is the part of the
Um,
show where we list off 14 different shows.
See, it's bullet points. This is where we're at. And when people come to me.
Ghost Hunters?
No.
No, it's
it
that
was,
Jesse Ventura conspiracy
yeah,
show, right? That was
there
the
you
one.
go. That's close enough. Anyway, so we would watch this show, and growing up, like I had a lot of sleep paralysis episodes where I would see things. And there was this one episode they talked about a mom who she got divorced and she's living in this home in like New Mexico by herself. And she experienced sleep paralysis where, somebody was like sitting on her chest, and then she'd wake up and see like this old guy sitting over her and then try to like choke her out. And then her ex-husband came to like visit her and said she's batshit crazy, and he had antagonized whatever was there. And so when he left, she opened up the closet door, and like written in crayon or pencil was like, kill Jerry, fuck Jerry. And so she freaked out. And then the very last part of the show, you see this old guy who's transparent. He opens up the attic little door, sticks his head down, and then closes it. And that show always got to me because they actually, if they had during like any eyewitness photos, any recordings, they would actually show it to kind of substantiate the actual tale. And so Sean and I were like talking about it, and I'm like, dude, if this shit's real, like after watching like Ghost Hunters, like I can go get a MP3 recorder, and I can go to cemeteries and start doing this stuff. And so my brother and I started a little paranormal team where we'd go to cemeteries and stuff around the area, and then started doing investigations. And we went to Thoros Bridge, and we got some EVPs where you hear like a woman that said something like, where's my child? There was kind of like this little angelic song to it. When Sean and I went, there was a pentagram on the bridge, and Sean's got a thing about not stepping in or around pentagrams.
It's a thing.
Yeah, I fuck with that shit. So I got in it, and I visibly noticed that the air or the area inside of the pentagram was way cooler than if I stuck my hand outside of the circle where it was actually warmer because it was during like a summer day. And the tales are that if you drive your car there, your car will mysteriously shut off. If you threaten to throw Thoros' baby off the bridge, her spirit will come out and get you. We tried all that. Nothing happened.
You
I
tried.
just got inside of I got inside a pentagram. Sean didn't. That was about the most of it. So
Preston, it was called Paranormal Witness.
there you go. That's
Yep.
it.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are so many of those shows out there. I mean, I had Discovery
Yeah.
Plus for a while, and then I'm like, I never get to time to watch any of this shit. So I'm subscribed to Discovery Plus. Like, there's too many. There's
And there
not enough time for all this.
Right.
And there was one on Netflix. I don't remember what it was called, but it really got to me. Like some of those stories on there were like really great. And there was one where this grandson, his grandfather was always like really abusive, and then there was always weird shit going on in the house. And so then after the grandfather died, he goes in and there's like jars of body parts in the basement and like weird satanic ritual stuff going on. Come to find out, like it's all bullshit. A lot of the people that wrote in those stories for the show were just horror writers, and they were just trying to get their start. And Netflix really didn't do their due diligence and verify whether it was really paranormal. They're like, it's a creepy story, we're putting it on a show. And so then I was just like, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm done. I'm not watching this ever again.
Amateurs, man.
That was a wild scandal because watching it when it first came out, everyone's like, oh my God, these drifters have disappeared and hitchhikers have disappeared. And like these people are confessing to a serial killer being their granddad. And I mean, it really came to a head. And finally, that's when it was revealed that it was all bullshit, sadly.
See, that's why I love Monsters and Mysteries in America, because at least they told you it was reenactments.
Right. Yeah, Paranormal Witness had some rad episodes where you had some Polaroids to kind of go along with some of the stories. So that gave it a little more credence. I mean, I can Photoshop anything you want me to, but it's a little more of a layer of, yeah, that might just be real.
Right. So it puts the image in your, that little
Yeah, exactly.
Can you Photoshop me a crocodile with no mouth but Elton John hair?
When do you need
This
it
guy
by?
and Fabio hair. Last episode too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Homoerotica and Fabio hair.
Oh boy.
Oh, he's talking. He's talking about the.
the gnome erotica. So
He's talking about the orang pendek because
Oh, yeah.
the picture I found had like Fabio hair on it.
Luscious locks. Luscious locks.
Yeah.
It makes you want to sit there and stroke its hair.
We haven't done too many other on-site things yet, just because we had a lot of plans and then COVID kind of came about, sadly. And I mean, Preston and I still hung out a little bit here and there during all of that mess, but I mean, it really kind of closed a lot of places up around here in Kansas. So hopefully sometime soon. Now we actually, I take it back. We
Are
kind
you
of
guys
did
still locked down?
No, we're back
Oh,
open, but
okay.
things are kind of stirring around here again. But I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily think a whole lockdown's coming, but I mean, there's lots of murmurs of cases and all that good stuff. But
Yeah, I drove through Kansas in like 2020, right during the start of that shit. Everything was good to go.
yeah, it depends on like what side of the town you're on. Some parts were like everything's locked down. Other times it was like the wild, wild west. Bars were staying open, doing speakeasies in the back and stuff like that. It's a wild time. But yeah, we kind of did.
We did that.
What's that?
The Museum of Terror, Museum of Horror,
Museum of Shadows up in
there
Omaha.
you go.
Yeah. See, together we're gonna figure this out.
We get it.
We did Museum of Shadows up in Omaha, Nebraska, with our sponsor Big Dobbs Beard Balm, and then there were some listeners up there, and we met up with a handful of them, and that was a really interesting time because, my whole big rule number one, don't fuck with pentagrams, and rule number two is, same thing for Ouija boards. They had this basement area, and they've got these like 3 or 4 sectioned off areas that you could do these sit room challenges where you pay like $10 a pop, you sit in there for 10 minutes with the lights off, and then they have, security cameras watching you in infrared, and then you report what happens. And like we show up and we got this guy who's a listener, and now he's become a good friend of ours. His name's Rob Bones, and he's just the epitome of just positive energy and just hell yeah, woo. And we met him and we're just like, man, we can't like just mess around. We got to make sure this dude's like, thanks for the real deal. So I paid tickets for Preston and I to go to, I forget what room it was, but it was like basically
it was in the basement. And when you're going through this museum, the stuff that's on like the top level is the gentler side of paranormal, museum quality stuff. There might be like a haunted doll, there might be like a photo, but then you go down in the basement, and this is the stuff that's supposedly like satanic ritual stuff. They might have a bowl where blood might have been drained in it. They might have some daggers. They have some really like planchettes, Ouija boards, pentagrams drawn on the floor that Sean didn't know about. There's this extreme haunted doll that they had in this glass case, and right next to it is it the obelisk where
Obelisk 3, I think it was.
Yeah. And so they're like, whatever you do, like what do they call that, where mechanics, you can lay on it and it moves in and out, it's got the wheels, like
a creep along.
The creep along,
they
had that. Apparently like an auto mechanic was like in a bad accident and like got squished on it, and now it's like supposedly like haunted. So they had like all this weird creepy shit in the basement, and this doll case that had this really creepy beyond all belief doll from the late 1800s. They had this device next to it, and they're like,
its name was Demas, right? The doll's name was Demas. It looked like a Cupid doll mixed with like a homemade starfish.
Yes. And they're like, whatever you do, don't antagonize. And so I'm just like, in the back of my mind, because we're all kind of walking around, so I'm over by this case, and I'm just thinking like, fuck you, doll, like, you piece of shit, you're not going to do anything.
Oh, you're
And
that
then,
guy.
and then Sean comes up and stands next to me, and all of a sudden the obelisk goes off, and it's like, stop, 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 run, run, stop. And Sean's like, what the fuck? Well, there's another room that it's like the boiler room, and they have a bench set up. And so at the end of the tour, everybody can go down there, whoever wants to pay the ticket. And they shut all the lights off. They had the infrared cameras going on, and you're just sitting in this dark, dank, cold room for like 15 minutes. And the challenge is most people only stay a minute or two. Sean and I didn't want to puss out.
Yeah, not with Rob
and-
Bones there. No, we couldn't let him down.
So
Are you
we're
two
just
together
like,
or are you by yourself? in
By
this?
ourselves.
no, we did it separate, but we kind of had like this little pep talk to each other, like, dude, I don't care if Satan enters your earlobe, like whatever's going on, like your butt stays on that bench
Yep.
for
We
the
have
full
fewer
15
hair, right?
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much.
And we did. We both stayed there the full 15 minutes, but it was creepy.
And what's odd is like on the table, again, suspend your disbelief. There's artifacts that are supposed to be, tied to Beelzebub and Baal and all these different demons. And you're getting the stories and like, no, don't touch it. Keep your hands back. Nobody bump into anything. And mind you, the room's like pitch black, except for maybe the tiniest little black light. And we're talking, having a good time. And Preston, tells a story about how I wouldn't step in the pentagram on Theoros's bridge. And then the guy giving the tour is like, well, you haven't stepped on any of the pentagrams on the floor in here, have you? And I look down and like my right foot's in one pentagram and my left foot's in another. And I was just like, oh no, what did I do, Daddy? And so anywho, you fast forward and oh yeah, and they take it so serious, or it's just such a good show. There is a bird bath with holy water that if you do touch anything, they urge you to, rinse your hands off in this holy water. So anywho's like, we do the old rock, paper, scissors, and I go first, and I'm sitting down there and just kind of sitting, nice and upright, and my hands are in my lap, listening, and you can hear people walking around upstairs a bit, and you can hear like the heater kick on in the background. And like right about the time this thing's about done, because you sit there for 10 minutes, I hear the sound of what either sounds like a tiny little horse running across the concrete floor, or somebody threw like an empty orange pill bottle you get from a pharmacy across the floor. But it was very bizarre. I don't know what it was. Anything could have fallen off one of the shelves, but like that made me kind of perk up a little bit. And then I'm thinking, okay, we're right around the 10-minute mark. And then right in front of you in this pitch blackness is like a hole in the wall that's cut out. And you can see kind of like underneath the floor, like in this, I don't know what it'd be, crawl space or what have you. So there's just a tiny little bit of light. And all of a sudden I get this feeling like 5 or 6 figures just rush from the darkness in front of me and stop, like boom, just all 5 of them, 6 of them in front of me. And then it kind of takes the energy and the air out of the room. And so then I think I managed to say in a low voice, is that you? And then right as I hear what sounds like something licking some old, dry, leathery lips and takes a breath, then you hear the light switch on and the guy coming down the stairs. All right, man, what'd you think? And I was just like, I think you got here just in fucking time is what I think. But it left like this weird feeling in me. And then no kidding at all, for like the next month after I'd gotten home, I had the urge to buy Ouija boards like off of like Facebook Marketplace. And I even went as far as messaging this one lady and I was like, hey, this Ouija board's for sale. Like, what's the story on that? She's just like, oh, it's not even opened yet. And it's just been in our closet for years and no one's touched it. And I was like, oh, so like there's no ghost or nothing? And she's like, nope. And I was like, all right, never mind, not interested. But for somebody who's never wanted to touch a Ouija
But you
board,
don't want to touch a pentagram?
yeah.
Come on now,
Well, here's a problem. I double dipped, right? I stepped in 2 of them that night at the same time. So I don't know. It was a weird sensation to
Pentagrams
be
are
like,
good luck.
what if there's 2 of them? Doesn't that cancel it out?
No,
I guess
it doubles it up. It doesn't cancel it out.
It stacks. Those stats stack.
Are you religious?
I
what,
was, here's the funny thing, like full transparency, I was I'm not going to say very much, but a fair bit up until about a month or 2 before then. And then I'm kind of like,
Okay.
where are we at? What am I doing here? Why are we here? And so that was kind of faltering, but I did take the cross I had been wearing. I've been wearing this cross since like the 8th grade. So I had been wearing this thing for almost 20 years. I did stick it in a pocket of the vest I was wearing, and also my Saint Sebastian token a friend of mine gave me when we ran the first Tough Mudder, Preston and I, when we ran Tough Mudder. I did bring those tokens with me just on the off chance that something was there.
I get it, man. I
Yeah.
was a light switcher. I got
Mhm.
OCD like crazy. I've been battling. So
Oh man.
I get it.
Yep. But
I
yeah,
would do the same thing. I mean, if I'm gonna fuck with something deep demonic, possibly, I don't care. I will freaking bring every cross I could find and just be like, the Lord, I'll bring my freaking like huge cross my wife has that's like freaking 3 feet by 3 feet. Like,
you gotta
the
hoist it
Lord
over your
protects
back.
me. Get the fuck back. Get the
Yep.
fuck back.
Yep, exactly.
I don't
But-
fuck with Ouija boards, but
Oh
like
God, no.
pentagrams
wanted
and
to.
stuff. Like I don't know. I
Yeah.
talk to a lot of pagans, so
Yeah. The Ouija board thing, like it fizzled out after a month, but for a good 30 days or so, I was like adamant, like I'm gonna find one. I'm gonna go ahead and get it. Who cares, you know? But what's funny is before that, for years, my buddy Steven, well, our co-host Steven, had this master plan to find one at a garage sale and then dirty it up, like bury it and run it over with a car and make it look all old and faded. And then one day he was gonna leave it on my front porch. And then he went as far as to get my wife in on it. And she was going to, bring it inside. And luckily they didn't, because at that point I would have been terrified.
so
Like,
did you
think
played
so.
these?
Oh,
Oh, okay.
no, but there were a shit ton of them in that museum downstairs, which is where there's actually a selfie of me and Preston and Rob in front of it. And the backdrop is just a shit ton of Ouija boards and planchettes. And so I don't know, but it was interesting at least to say that I left there with kind of a weird fascination with shit I didn't care about before.
I mean, I don't know. Ouija boards are one of those things I've never been tempted with in my life. Like, even when I was a kid and I knew about them, like I was just like, I'm not stupid. I'm not fucking with that. Like,
Mhm.
like no. I mean, I don't believe in that shit. Even I mean, I believe in shit like that, but I don't believe in
Right.
like the devil. But I mean,
Just in case
mean-
you're not going to poke it with a stick.
I was gonna say, if you don't believe, that's the problem.
I
You know.
believe in simulation theory,
I-
and my wife
I-
and kids want Ouija boards. I won't allow that.
Yeah.
Just
Simulation-
don't fuck with shit you don't know, right? Just don't
simulation
fuck.
theory freaking lost the conspiracy bracket, Scott.
Yeah,
by a
I
lot.
know it did, Jeremy. I listened to that episode, and fucking Skinwalker Ranch won with flying colors.
Not my
Give me a
choice.
Goddamn break.
But
You
by
had
the time
the
it got to
moon
me,
landing, Epstein. We
Well,
could go on
I
for
mean-
hours about. And I get it. I listened to the episode. People didn't want to pick shit because it was depressing. But
no one wants to pick Pedophile Island over fucking Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, come on.
yeah, at the end of the day, the funnest, most unrealistic thing won. I got it.
Most unrealistic. Skinwalker Ranch has been proven.
No. Bob Bigelow or whatever the fuck his name was ended up selling that shit too.
Yeah,
I'm going to drive. I'm going to drive down there. We're going to do
That's
it's
where
like
I
an
think
hour
we
and a
should bring
half
it back.
away from my house.
If you,
Yeah.
I've been trying to get the freaking guy who is the manager of that property now on my show for a long time. Like, I forget his name, but the guy who they go report to during the show, like every couple episodes, like with the glasses, like watch the Secret Skinwalker Ranch, Scott. There's proof on
I've
that show of
watched them,
UFOs.
dude. Like I'll
You can't get
drive
closer,
down there.
can you? You can't go visit that. It's
Well, what I've
dark
heard,
or
because
whatever, right?
my middle son wants to go down there too. What I heard is if you even stop off the side of the road in that, like,
Yep.
I don't know what town it is, but it's like a really small town. Like the police will come and kick you off.
You off, yeah.
But yeah, no, maybe after the holidays, me and my son drive down there and we just
Get
drive
stopped by a
back
cop and told to go.
all night long. Well, no,
Stop
we
and take a
won't
leak, see what you
stop.
can
We'll
see.
Just there we go. But just
So-
back and forth, right? Like from one side of town to the other. Boom, boom.
Yeah, there you go.
boom,
Just
boom.
Stop
all
at the
night
front
long.
gate. Stop at the front gate and just yell, "Dragon! I got weed to sell you." Like,
There
just
you go. Yeah.
that'll get you in. That'll get you in.
It'll get you in a bag over your head.
His name. His
I'll
his
say,
name.
I got some fentanyl, dude. I got the dope.
I mean, his name's Dragon. He's probably into everything. So
Okay,
know where
so
I'd love
the
to do
dragon bought it.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was gonna say, you know where I'd love to do an investigation, like stay overnight. I don't think it's hotel anymore, but the Cecil Hotel, because there's been just a murder in basically every room in the whole
Mhm.
hotel.
That was in LA, right? Where the
Yeah.
lady got dumped in the fucking
Water
Oh.
tank.
Yeah, that was a Canadian girl. Yeah, but there's
Oh,
been
yeah.
Yeah.
what's his name? The serial killer. He'd walk in there.
Richard
Oh.
Ramirez.
Yes, he'd walk in
Yes.
there covered in blood.
The Night Stalker.
He'd just say hi because he's just so normal to see. Like there was so many
Mhm.
murders and deaths.
Oh.
it's
Like-
just it's
Oh, that'd be a cool place to, see if you can spend a night.
And that's where Lady Gaga was a serial killer, right? Yeah.
It's-
American Horror.
Yeah.
They did
Hotel.
American
Yeah.
American Horror Story Hotel
Yeah.
on it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
crazy to see, like, because I'm from LA County,
Yeah.
and we always have these people move in that want to be actors. The crazy thing is all the kids who grew up in LA County, none of them want to be actors. But you see all these people come in, and then, like, somebody gets thrown in a water tank, and it's like, what did you think? You moved to LA County. This
Yeah,
shit
well, and
happens on a daily basis.
Yeah. And Skid Row too, man. Like it's not a nice place.
Well, that's so
Skid Row
fascinating
is-
about it because it's a nice hotel. You come in one door and it's a nice hotel, and then there's
Cecil
an
Hotel
elevator,
is
and then
not
there's
a
Skid
nice.
Row. Well, better, and then there's one side that's like the homeless, like just, and they kind of match
See,
together.
this is the shit you guys hear about. But like, even if you go see the Walk of the Stars and all that shit, that has been homeless people forever. Like back in the 90s, we used to hang out with the drunk tank, and that was all Melrose on the street, punk rock kids, spanging for change. Like it's just nonsense. Don't go to LA, don't go to Hollywood. It's dirty as fuck. And like, have you guys ever seen the movie Lords of Dogtown, or the documentary
Yeah.
The
I think I have the
Lords of
film.
Dogtown?
Yeah. I think I have the film on DVD.
Yeah, where we say like no locals, like that shit's pretty hardcore. Like, there's
Yeah.
a lot of people representing down in those areas. So, I mean, there was you drive down San Fernando Boulevard and fucking you're wrong color, you ain't getting through.
Huh.
Like,
It's not the ghost you're worrying about here. That's what you're telling me. Just
yeah,
don't go.
no, there's no Hollywood is a cesspool.
Oh, okay, well.
Listen to Anti-Heroes, fuck Hollywood. Like,
Right. Well, on Skinwalker Ranch, we actually have a listener of the show who has moved away a few times, and he's come back to our area. We're going to try to get him on the show. He actually spent time working there. And I do believe, I want to say he's an executive producer. He's at least, I don't know if he has that title, but he works on that current show as one of the guys who kind of like instructs them on like, yeah, here's some suggestions, and kind of, is there behind the scenes.
Here's how you be more of a douche.
We haven't watched season 2 yet, but I need to check that out, man.
Dragon's a douche in season 1. He's the worst in season 1. I hate him from the first episode of season 1. Then season 2, he gets a little more likable.
Hey, if you've got a brand, man, you got to just stay on it.
that's
At least
my
he has
new
us
name.
talking about him.
The first
Dragon
episode. Oh, this is my name, but they call me Dragon. Dude, no. What are you, a fucking 15-year-old? Come on.
One of the stepbrothers. You have to call me Dragon.
That was a fucking goddamn good movie.
It very much was. It very much was.
My name is. You have to call me Dragon, and you can't put your nuts in my drum set. Yeah, just saying.
Oh goddamn! Will Ferrell's coming out. I'm drawing a blank, but
He just released a Christmas movie on Apple TV.
yeah, with who?
Spirited
Who
with
was
Ryan
it?
Reynolds.
That was the one. I hate Deadpool, but I'm gonna see it.
What?
You hate what, Bull?
Deadpool.
Deadpool.
Dude,
How do you
he
fucking hate
tries
Deadpool?
too
How do you
fucking
hate
hard. Did you
Deadpool?
see him in that rom-com he did where he was fat and then he became
Just
skinny
Friends?
and his girl.
Just Friends?
Yeah, that one.
One of the best Christmas movies ever. Yeah.
Oh, give me best Christmas movies ever.
I think
Yeah,
Jeremy just quit the show.
break.
No, I am.
Down all the time. This is
I have
normal.
been on.
Yeah, we've gotten in
I
worse
was a-
fights than this.
I was on a lot of pop culture podcasts, like about movies and video games and all that stuff too. And Master Bears is doing a Christmas bracket right now, and Just Friends
That made it.
to the almost
Oh.
third. I think it made it to the third round out of 104
Jesus
movies.
Christ.
You're in the wrong universe, man. You fell into the wrong parallel universe. You got Skinwalker Ranch winning. You got Ryan Reynolds love movies. Rom
Just
Well,
Friends is one of the funniest movies fucking ever. Ryan
Pretty
Reynolds.
good.
Yeah,
facial
unless your wife
expressions.
makes you watch it all the time.
Well, blame
I'm
your
gonna have to
wife.
go
Don't
with-
blame Ryan
I'm gonna have to
Reynolds.
go with Scott on this one.
Thank you.
You know,
Thank you, Preston.
So I'll tell you a quick dream I had once. When we lived in El Dorado, the town doesn't have a whole lot going for it other than like a really nice lake. And I had this random dream one night. I just realized my camera went kind of dark. That's kind of spooky. I had this dream that Ryan Reynolds did a radio contest called Best Friends for a Day. And if you won this contest, he'd come to your hometown and hang out with you for one full day doing whatever you want. So like I win the radio contest, he rolls up in this limo and he's like, "Hey, what's up? I'm Ryan Reynolds, blah, blah, blah. I'm really super charming." And I was like, "Well, there's not a lot to do here. So let's go rent a boat. Let's just go to the lake and just, spend the day on the lake." And we had a blast. There's a montage of us like water skiing and, wakeboarding and all this stuff. And then at the end of the day, he's like, "Fuck it. Hold on a second." He calls his agent and he's like just arguing. He's like, "No, I'm taking 2 months off and I'm going to live in El Dorado with Sean and all his friends. No, I need a vacation." And then he hangs up the phone and he's like, "All right, dude, like we're going to be hanging out for the next 2 months because I'm living here. This is on." And so another montage in my dream of us hanging out with Ryan Reynolds for like 2 months. And then I wake up and it was so real that like I woke up and I rolled over and I was like, "Oh man, I got the day off. I'm going to call Ryan, see what he wants to do today. Oh, it's going to be a good day." And then like I went back to sleep and opened my eyes and I was like, "Holy shit, that was a dream." And I was so disappointed. I was so unbelievably sad that I wasn't really friends with Ryan Reynolds.
I think
You
you
realize
should
life
stick to
sucked.
your Donald Trump dream and skip out on the Ryan Reynolds dream.
Thong City, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds, if you're listening, he wants to be your friend. So
Yes,
get him-
please come to El Dorado and ride in a boat with me.
Oh.
Speaking of boats, I think Scott's going to make room for one, but
Oh,
damn, it's piss breaks.
he scuttled out of here, didn't he?
Oh, him and his beer and his piss breaks. I mean, it's hilarious. And the fact that he's recording the whole thing while he's out taking a piss break, like it
You
cracks
know
me
what?
up.
It really shows people that we are people too.
We are dedicated people. here.
Right,
Damn it.
And also that's why you
Oh.
drink stouts, so it just sticks to your rib and doesn't, have to come out so
I'm-
quick.
I'm a dedicated motherfucker. I'll go 3.5 hours on a podcast without taking a piss and then freaking go run to the bathroom afterwards. Like it's a race at that point. Everybody gets off the episode at once. Like it's been 3 hours. We all got to go. And everybody's like, "Yep."
I mean,
Bye.
or if you're good enough, you can mute your mic and just carry an empty 2-liter underneath your desk.
Oh, I mean, that's the scariest fucking thing I've heard all night here.
Is that right?
No,
I mean, if
too
you-
much
if-
stuff
if-
about boys. I don't need to know.
If you could fit into a 2-liter, I feel bad for you.
And there's even more.
right.
That's all I'll say, but yeah. So tell me, have you guys done any episodes on Dogman, my favorite cryptid?
Oh, that's his favorite.
We did touch on it a little bit. I forget the episode number because I've slept since then, but we did an episode on dogmen, frogmen, and something else. Some of the kind of
Lizardmen?
lesser. What was it?
Lizard Man?
Was it Presto? Was it
Goatman.
Lizardmen?
No, it was Dogman, Goatman, and
Oh,
Frogman.
go.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And then in the intro to the we got flagged on YouTube because Sean played the intro to It's Raining Men.
I may
And
have sung
YouTube was
over
like
it, yeah.
copyright. Yeah.
See, we did an episode on Dogman because of me, and we did an episode on Goatman just recently because of me, and we did an episode on Lizardman and Frogman about a
Shit,
month ago
yeah.
or 2 months ago because of me.
Hell
Anytime
yeah.
it's a cryptid, it's because of me usually, but
Hey, that's all right,
That's
man.
not true. I did lake monsters this week.
true. For the first time, you chose a cryptid.
A fishing cryptid. might
You
I
wore
add
him
to it.
down, buddy. You wore him down.
Well,
I tried,
I was
I mean-
looking at fishing spots and I found a cryptid along the way.
This
There
is
you
how
go.
parents we are when it's time to choose. Whoever is like deer in the headlight, like, what are we doing? This.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we
We
have weeks like that
rotate.
too. We have weeks where like one of us will text the other one and be like, "Hey, did you have something planned for tomorrow?"
Nope.
That's when some of the best work comes out is, 30 minutes before the homework's due. So
Yeah.
See, this is why my solo show is not a just discussion show or just me doing paranormal topics. Because if I didn't have a guest to talk to every episode, it would be. I always say I don't want to hear myself talk for an hour straight. No one else wants to hear me talk for an hour straight to myself. Like no one. So I know that, so I'm not gonna try to market that. I will
There
have
you go.
interesting guests every freaking episode, and that way, and a lot of them come with questions because I find them on podcast sites. So yay!
Hell yeah. Hey man, there's no shame in that game. I think
Hell no.
Presto and I have each done a solo show once or twice, and it is so difficult.
Oh,
It
I
is.
can't imagine.
If you have two jobs or whatever, like back when I had at Easy Street, my solo news show was fun as fuck. But yeah, no, now I couldn't do it. Me and Deborah wanted to start a news show, and
Yeah.
hopefully after the holidays, we'll see.
Yeah. It's a
There you
time thing,
go.
right?
Yeah.
I
Very much
tried it with two co-hosts like about 5 months ago, and it just got to the point where we were just like, we're all on too many podcasts. We're not doing it anymore. Like,
Yep.
and it got. I mean, we find a news story. We tried to make a top 5 list to have that every news story we found, and it just got to the point where it's like, oh, first episode's on Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Yeah, that's easy. Okay. Second episode's on what the hell is the name of the fat chick from the singing competition movie?
Ryan Reynolds.
Rebel Wilson. Yeah,
Oh.
no, Rebel Wilson. It's the second episode's about Rebel Wilson and her being forced to come out of the closet in Hollywood. Like it was. But at the end of the day, it was just me finding news stories, and everybody else is just like, okay. Like I'm not doing all the work for this. Like I don't have to find all news stories every week. Like it's just all I'm gonna find is entertainment. Everything else bores me.
My
Yeah.
shit was 20 minutes long every day. I did it every day until we had to switch jobs again. And it took me 2 hours at the minimum to do the research and then record a 20-minute show and then fucking, download, upload, fucking do the thumb art and all that shit. But
Mhm.
back before COVID, man, I'm telling you, within the first hour, I would have every day, like from pretty much the start, 40 people would download my shit. It was way more interactive.
Mhm.
But now I'm not in that space to do, like, I've got 2 jobs going. I can't.
Well, that, and I mean, like before COVID, let's go back to like 2018, 2019. You didn't have every celebrity and their cousin who had a
Yes.
podcast, because that's how you make money when you can't do a movie. You do a podcast. And some of them are great, and some of them I unsubscribed as quick as I subscribed. But I mean, and there's great stuff. I listened to a couple, actors podcast or comedian podcasts, but yeah, I too find that some of them hit a good stride and then they kind of level out a little bit, and it becomes more about like, so what'd you do this weekend? Oh, I did this. What'd you do? Hey, here's what I hate about everything this week. So that kind of, took out a couple of them. But yeah, the competition's fierce because every celebrity has a podcast now.
I started listening to podcasts back in 2012, like when, Adam Curry and Joe Rogan, I wouldn't even listen to their shit. Like
Mhm.
when Lore first came out, it was like, cool, I got something once a week. But I was in the same predicament where I'm like listening to D&D podcasts all fucking day.
Right.
But
Well, I mean, yeah.
now, like you said, yeah, it's everybody and their mother has a fucking podcast.
It's
And it's
especially in the paranormal world. Like
Mhm.
I've
in
worked with a
every
lot,
niche.
and I mean it is, but I'll say the 2 biggest easily are paranormal and the mental health self-help like
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
podcast.
god,
Mhm.
dude! When I went
Every
on your
podcast
yeah,
when you went on
yep,
what?
yep, go.
Like if you go on any podcast like group on Facebook or any podcast guest
Mhm.
site, that's all it is like mental health people or self-help people. And it's like Jesus, like
Yeah, and
trying to find someone to talk
build your
about ghosts.
business, small business owners.
I
It's
know.
fucking nuts, dude.
It's nuts. And I mean, I agree with you. The only celebrities I ever listened to that I could stand were Mark Maron and Kevin Smith. Those are the only two celebrities I ever, and I mean, Kevin Smith calling him a celebrity is a gracious thing, but
No, dude, I've listened to his shit too. Like that's why I'm listening to these guys because I like to hear normal people
Mhm.
fucking talk.
yeah.
That was the whole point of podcasting.
Yep.
And now it's
if
just
you're
been
listening,
fucking
Josh, on
polluted.
YouTube,
Shit.
people do like banter, so go fuck yourself. Okay, thanks.
Wow. We got called out a couple times by somebody who's like timing how long it takes us to get into the actual topic. And one of them is like, holy shit, guys, it's been 26 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, and that was only like a 40-minute show, too.
I
Yeah.
Oh,
thought
shit,
of
they-
calling you guys out too. I don't do that shit. Like realistically, when I listen to a podcast, I don't get human interaction for like
Ah.
12 fucking years. I'm always working by myself. So it's like you guys are the people I listen to once a week at this time, you know? It's just like that's
mean, you
what
did-
podcasts have been for me. My entire
Yeah, you were one of a handful who reached out to us when our release dates got real spotty there for a while of like, hey, listen, I rely on this shit for work.
Yeah, no.
What's going on? Are you guys okay? So yeah, we really appreciate that. And that's funny because that's why we're here tonight. You know, which is
I
pretty
mean,
rad.
It's funny that you say that. Did I just lose my train of thought? Yeah, I think I did. No, what the fuck we just said? But no, I mean, it's it's the same thing with like Monsteropolis, like the Small Town Monsters podcast.
Mhm.
Like they get shit from their listeners too, because it's like you guys went a half hour, 40 minutes without getting into the topic you said you were going to talk about. Well, gee, sorry, we're having fun. I mean,
Mhm.
like it's bullshit
Yeah.
that people like pull that shit on
I think it's the
podcasters.
personalities that makes it, interesting.
Oh,
though.
for
Like,
sure.
You have,
For sure.
the arguing and the, difference. Yeah. I don't know. I like it better anyways.
Yeah, I think that's like Scott, you said you listened to it back when it was just regular people, and that's what that's what draws me in. That's what people have written in and said, like, we like it because you guys are real, and we're just like, well, that's good. I mean, because people who know us listen to, and you can't be like, hi, I'm Mr. Paranormal Man, and then on the street. I tried it once on episode our number 0 episode when Rob was testing the mics out. I had this really deep professional voice. And then my wife listened to it and she's just like, what the hell's that? And I was like, oh, it's a podcast voice. And then Rob even called me out. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, okay, I'll just be me.
Your voice sounds totally different right now into my earphone than it does when I listen.
That's weird. I don't know if it's like just I put a couple pop filters on there, but I don't know. Here you go, buddy. It's the real deal.
No, it's a weird thing because like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When I first listened to your guys' episodes, I was like, well, let's see how this goes. But then like you have to get used to people, and
Mhm.
then like that's pretty much the thing of podcasting is like you get used to these people talking to you every week. And you
Right, yeah,
kinda
yeah.
think that you're like part of the conversation. I don't know, man.
It's
It's
like
a
radio.
totally different.
It's like radio in the old days or whatever. It's
Yeah.
that, right? People get very, connected because they're seeing you every day or listening to you all the time.
Like
Yeah.
everybody had their social media, and then like back in 2014 and 15 when Anchor was doing like the 1 minute fucking podcast social media thing before they were
Mhm.
bought out by Spotify or whatever. That was like my shit. Like I want to this is the social platform I want to be a part of. I don't give a fuck about pictures or seeing all the shit on Facebook or Twitter. I still like, I don't understand. But audio is my shit. I need shit to fill my fucking day. I am based on what I do all day long. not sitting in an office looking at shit. So
Gotcha. Yeah, not scrolling the day away.
yeah.
Did you guys think you were doing such powerful, impactful work?
Right.
Powerful.
It's,
Look at the
hey,
effects
Scott,
they
question
have.
for you.
Yeah.
Do you listen to my podcast?
Yeah, I do.
Like, I mean, I honestly don't know because my podcast has so many countries freaking listening to it. I can't keep track of where the hell people are from, but
What a
it's
humble
amazing.
brag to have.
I know, right? I know. I mean, it's literally like no, seriously. Like one day I look at my podcast and I didn't look at it for like months and like where it's being listened to, and I go on and it's like fucking 30 countries. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
like a lot of Pakistani people are jumping in. Like even with my YouTube shorts I'm doing, like half of them are from Pakistan. So
Oh,
like good for
interesting.
them. They're fucking boosting their GDP, right? Like if they want to
Mhm.
watch my shit, maybe I should start putting some Pakistani text. at the-
I mean, call out
Bottom.
the country at least, it's that was a cool thing. The first time we had another country listen to our show was just like, holy shit, we're kind of making it, boys.
I got 2 out of New Zealand, so like the whole island of New Zealand basically listens to the show. So
That was the jarring thing of starting the whole new podcast feed is like, I had the last 2 years worth of Spotify year-end breakdowns. And then this year I fired it up and I'm like, oh, there's 5 countries and that's it. Oh, we started over. Okay, never mind. Because I got worried when I saw the numbers go real low. It's like, man, it's the first time I've really actually halfway cared because now it's like my little baby that, Preston and I are trying to promote on our own. So that'll build back up. But I remember we had a guy write in from England and we did a story about this haunted house that I think he grew up in or anywho. So that was pretty sweet where it's like, oh shit, somebody who's not from our hometown, who's not in America wrote in. This is neat.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't remember what episode that was, but
I remember the dude's name was Andrew. I remember that, but
See, I mean, that's why I want to do an
Bad
interview
with names.
podcast. It's so cool to be able to talk to like my favorite episodes always are talking to other paranormal podcasters and like doing crossovers.
Yeah.
Those are always the best. Like I got Derek Hayes from Monsters Among Us on
oh,
my
no
show
kidding, huh? Wow.
because I've been a huge fan of his show since it started, and like
Mhm.
that's what got me back into paranormal was his show, hearing people's call in with their experiences, and
Mhm.
it just reenacted my fake fucking like love for everything paranormal. And when I was able to get him on my show by contacting his wife on like email,
There you
Thank you,
go.
Greg.
he wasn't answering my emails or or Twitter or anything. So his wife emailed me about something because she sends out newsletters to people who are Patreon subscribers.
Oh, cool.
So,
Yeah.
So I just emailed her back. I'm like, hey, huge fan of Derek. Would love to get him on my show. So back in July or August, he got on my show. He was on my show and like one of my highest listened to episodes yet. Like it's
Nice.
because he has 4,000 followers on Twitter. So I mean,
Right.
I marketed the shit out of that, and I'll do it again if he wins. He just won the paranormal. He's won like the #1 paranormal podcast award again in paranormality, whatever the hell that magazine's called.
Yeah.
So when he did that, I just remarketed it again. Like, if you want to hear him on different podcasts at his own,
Like featuring Derek Hayes.
he's got like even my friends in podcasting that don't even know anything about paranormal are like, dude, he's got 4,000 followers. Make sure you market that all the time.
Mhm.
I'm like, I respect him now. I respect him now. I'm not gonna freaking be every day like, come listen to Derek Hayes. Like, no, but
Right.
I mean, I met a lot of cool paranormal podcasters in this business in the last like 8 months, and I love it. Like, it's just the greatest thing in the world to be involved in the paranormal podcast world. Like, even though there's thousands of us, and it's
Mhm.
always us fighting for like listeners, it's just I
And
love
that's
it.
too,
That's
like
what
you
I
hear the
love.
same stories over and over, like this
Mm.
everybody's kind of investigating all the same stuff. But there's different takes, and it's the personalities, right? Like we'll say it differently than two other podcasts or how they.
Yeah.
So it's always
Right.
interesting. You always hear something.
Well, because the rabbit holes always go so deep, and sometimes they veer off into different directions, and
Right?
you might find one little tidbit that the next person didn't get, and then that person's like, "Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, wow!" We've had people write in and say, "I knew the story, but I didn't know that one aspect." So that's always kind of fun too.
Yeah.
And I find that most of the ones we've interacted with have been really welcoming. Like there's room at the table.
Mhm.
I got into an argument with one guy who commented on a couple Instagram posts, and finally I messaged him privately, and I'm like, I don't know why you're so mad at us, because like let's take the curtain back a little bit. We're arguing over make believe to a degree. Now I believe in most of this stuff. I want to believe. I'm equal parts Mulder and Scully, but like we're arguing over shit that I can't prove to you is 100% real. So why are you getting so angry at me? And
Right.
he's like, oh, well, I mean, I guess when you put it that way, but like, I heard the story told this way. And I said, great. I looked at 9 websites and most of them said that, but here's some extra information. And I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm wrong, all this shit could be fake. So I'm going to
They
sleep
do-
just fine tonight.
They
Right.
don't
Yeah.
realize how much shit you look through when you do
Oh,
that
yeah.
fucking show.
And
Like,
sometimes
it's
how much
crazy.
shit you don't look through.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm
No,
infamous.
Go
infamous.
ahead, Jeremy.
I'm infamous on our show for like our show is usually at 9 o'clock on Sunday nights, my time, and like
Mhm.
at 8:30, I'll message the group and be like, "Hey, so what topics you guys doing this week? So I know to avoid those when I do my research in the next half hour." Like,
Right.
Like,
And
'cause,
here's how it goes. Scott's already been researching for a whole week.
There
And
you
then
go.
Well, yeah,
when
dude, I
Jeremy
got
asked that, I'm like frantically trying to claim a couple cryptids or whatever is my own.
60
Right.
hours of
Just
time while
whatever.
I'm fucking assembling shit. Like, I gotta listen to something, so I might as
Yep.
well get the
see, I mean,
research in that way.
I work from home now, so my podcast listening went from like listening to 40
So what are you
episodes of
doing now?
podcasts a week.
Watching fucking Mari on the TV? Come on. Like, what is going on here, buddy?
I mean, I've been on Masturbators lately for 104 episode, like 104 brackets, like movie brackets. So I've been literally working at home watching 4 to 5 movies a
Watching
day,
movies.
like 4 to 5 Christmas movies a day, 4 to 5 2000 movies a day, 4 to 5 like black movies a day in the original bracket we did. Like,
Dude,
it's
if you got it like that though, that's awesome. I wish I could watch movies all day.
That's what I said.
I don't have it like that.
Watch this and you're gonna be,
I don't have it like that because I also have a wife who yells at me all day for doing that instead of doing things around the house. And I
Well,
also
kick her out to a job. Come on now.
oh, Scott, I like certain things being done to me. I can't
She needs
go
a
against her
job.
for. She does, but I like certain things being done to me, so I can't go against her for it. But I mean, it's also the fact that I need to find a second job to support my family. So, I have to start applying for second work at home jobs I could do while working
Doesn't
my
that
original job.
suck, dude? Like 2 years ago, shit was great.
Mhm.
And now, like, the bank
$800
accounts just
Yep.
shrivel.
Two-
Well, I didn't get any free government money, so.
I did. I sat at home for 7 months playing video games, getting $800 every couple
Yeah,
weeks.
I
to my
heard
bank
about
account.
that on the podcast. It was with some lady you were doing it with, but I
Oh, last night.
secretly resent you for that. Jeremy.
Uh,
Secretly.
Don't blame me because
resent
my
you.
small
No,
business
no,
employer
I'm
had
blaming
to
you. Blaming you.
had
buddy.
to, my small business employer listened to the state and made us all go home for a couple months. And then he kept telling me he was gonna bring me back, and then he couldn't afford to bring me back like 7 months later. And I had to go find a new job. So yeah,
Yep.
I mean, it's not my fault. I paid in unemployment for 10, 15 years before that. So I might as well get the money I paid into.
I
Don't you think a lot of
worked-
people from home, that's where all the podcasters came from now. That's why they're so
That's a
Yes,
fantastic
exactly.
point.
They got
Holy
paid
shit,
to
yeah.
do it, dude. Like I worked, moved, and worked 2 jobs the whole time through. And then they told me they wanted me to get a vaccine, mandatory, fuck you. Thankfully that didn't happen. But yeah, it's crazy the way the world has gotten so polar now. It's fucking crazy.
been a study in mankind, like human behavior, right? It's been in
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, it's
Scary
definitely
world in
changed a
difference.
lot and
In
brought a
2
lot of
years, or I guess 3 years, it's changed dramatic fuckingly. Like I was doing funny shows on Trump 4 or 5 years ago, and now like, Jesus Christ, man. What do you guys think about the future?
We're fucked.
Well,
I
like, we
think-
are fucked.
I think in order to get to a place that's going to be much better, we have to go through a lot of shit. So, I mean, change is always good. You can't stay stagnant forever, but I think the transitional period from where we're at and what we're seeing across the board is jarring now. But I mean, who knows the fruits of that labor, going forward? It could all be dog shit. It could all be a utopia. You never know. Sadly, we're a bunch of animals, so I think it's going to be a big steaming pile of, dog shit. But
I
think
agree
it
with
depends
that.
on whether the masses realize how powerful we are, like globally all
there
together.
you go. Yeah.
Just say no, but you have to get a whole lot of people on board and cohesive and caring about each other instead of like
Ain't gonna
individual.
happen.
And
Ain't
yeah,
gonna
no,
happen.
it ain't gonna happen because it got us fucking divided over dumb shit.
Well, but that's our
Yeah.
choice, right? It's our choice not to play into that.
Eh,
reality.
Well, I mean,
No.
it's not our choice personally, but yeah, it's the choice of the masses because the masses are idiots.
People go to work and then they listen to the little news clips and then they fucking come home and overreact about these dumbass little news clips. But the bottom line is they want us to eat bugs.
Hey,
Did you say to eat
And that's
bugs?
the start of mine and Deborah's news channel.
Yeah.
Dude, I tell you
Hey.
what. So I've been looking into alternate forms of protein because you said they want us to eat bugs, right? I heard that right.
Aquaponics, dude. Aquaponics.
Aquaponics. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been doing a little studying about alternate proteins, and if it were just a little bit cheaper, I would fully go to like one meal a day, like cricket meal or mealworm proteins for
But,
sure.
I get where you're going with this. This is like what they're trying to put into the mainstream media, but that's going to be cricket meal with high fructose corn syrup and a bunch of artificial starch and nonsense, right? Like they're going to powderize this fucking cricket meal and they're going to put it in some sort of tofu block. I was vegan for 10 years. Like I stopped being vegan when I couldn't afford to be vegan anymore.
Mhm.
This is not a good thing. It's not a good thing. Like we need to eat natural foods.
Oh,
Well,
for
that's
sure,
what I
man.
said, the
For sure.
governments and the powers that be, they like people to be sick because it's big,
Mhm.
it's big money, it's big
It's
business.
profitable.
Yeah. So it's not going to be, an uber healthy thing for all of us that's being
Mhm.
pushed. It's going to be fake, gross food that makes you sick because that's what keeps them rich.
I mean, yeah,
Fake
that's
food. Biggest.
that's for sure. But what do you think about like you can still eat your greasy burgers and your hot wings and stuff like that, but like switching like one meal a day over to something like that. Not your
I don't
whole
like
menu.
like I said, I was vegan for 10 years. I don't want to
Mhm.
eat a McDonald's burger. I want to be able to buy non fucking hormone grown tons of antibiotics in my beef. I want to be
Mhm.
able to buy
Ooh.
straight beef. I want to be able to buy aquaponic grown fruits and vegetables. Like
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
want straight food. I don't want any more of their
It's
nonsense.
funny why you're saying this, Scott. I just saw a commercial for Arby's Wagyu beef burger.
Well, while I'm drinking my Keystone
Yes.
rice
I got
beer with
Keystone
probably
Light.
high
Oh,
fructose corn
I was gonna
syrup
say,
in
tell me
that
there's
shit.
no corn syrup in that, and
Yeah,
I will
exactly.
pay you $1.
Whale
But what I'm saying is
whaleback
they're
cider, no
trying to
corn
push
syrup.
it worse. Like obviously, we went from the 50. We came from the baby boomers,
Mhm.
and then we went into this microwave ready nonsense, right? And now they're trying to push that. Oh, I see you have a little kitty cat there.
Oh, me? Yeah, he's an asshole.
Cats usually are.
Yeah, right.
What do
He's
you think
like,
about the cats aren't real conspiracy?
I mean, this
I
guy's
heard
real
the
enough. I got
birds aren't
scars to
real.
prove
I
it.
haven't heard the cats aren't real.
Yeah. Wait a minute, maybe it is birds are real. Oh no, it's the cats
Birds.
are alien. Yeah, it's the cats are aliens conspiracy.
Yeah, no, like the birds aren't real. My son just shot one and we ate it. It was real.
It tastes
Unless they've
crunchy like
got,
a
Real
satellite.
good.
It tastes
Or
like
is that-
steak, dude.
Or is that what the Matrix wants you to think, Scott?
Right, the simulation. Yeah. Come on, man.
No, I 100% believe like Sorry to say. Might
I'll
be
tell you
true.
what's come out of the last 5 years is the most batshit crazy conspiracies I've ever heard of. I love the moon's made out of cheese, and I love that we never went to the moon. It was all filmed, with Stanley Kubrick. But some of this other shit is just either A, so crazy it's real, or B, people got to fucking go out and get some jobs.
You've got to listen to our moon conspiracy
Yes.
episode
I do
because
need
Yes.
to. Yeah, for sure.
it could be an alien base, Deborah and Jeremy,
Yeah.
or it
Is
could
it-
be the fact that now our Air Force has to wear G suits to go over 9Gs. But when they came back from the moon, a couple of farmers came back at 32 Gs. And that's all NASA documented shit.
I mean,
Like we
I'm
never
exci-
went to the fucking moon. We were shooting lasers there in
Mhm.
1963. Bullshit.
I mean,
Bullshit.
I'm just gonna put on my brown desert cloak again and say, that's no moon. That's a space station.
Are we going? We got to go full flat Earth. Come on now. It's
Oh,
Oh.
sweet
I
fucking
hate flat-
Christmas.
I hate flat Earth. I love
Yeah, I
Hollow Earth.
don't.
Hollow Earth, I can get
Hollow
behind.
Earth is fun. Hollow Earth
Yeah.
is fun. I wish it was real.
When you know where those cave systems on the east and west coast go? The missing
mean-
411 that disappear around those cave systems. Come on now,
Mhm,
Scott.
And
mhm.
there
That's
were
where the
those
do-
two green children. I mean,
Dog-
come on, man.
Dogmen. Dogmen live in mines, Scott. Dogmen live in mines. Where do you think their home base is? Under the earth.
For sure, like with the dinosaurs, and that
Yeah.
ties
Yes.
into your shit.
That's where Macaulay and Membe's from.
Yeah, buddy.
Well, Preston, you didn't go to Kentucky, did you, for the Pixelated for a Purpose fundraiser we did?
Nope.
Okay, so Steven and I and our buddy Corey went to Kentucky to visit Rob for our yearly fundraiser we do. And we went to Mammoth Cave. And that's a topic
Ooh.
we've touched on a little bit here and there. But I mean, like, if you want to feel small and terrified, go to fucking Mammoth Cave. And like, we went to the real touristy part where they've gone through and sadly like paved roads through and put up, safety rails and everything else. But they show you the map of how far Mammoth Cave goes through the US. It's pretty freaking scary. Like if
It
you
is.
want to, err on the side of, dogmen and all these cryptids and Tommy knockers and all this kind of stuff and Hellier and all that, it's not hard to really like at least sway towards that might be real,
Yeah.
because I mean, I think if I remember right, it goes up into parts of Canada even. That's nuts.
I mean, and what comes out of
We-
Canada is just even more terrifying. Wendigos and all that shit.
Yeah, no doubt.
Frickin' Deborah.
Hey there. Cute little packages. That's all.
I mean, you look at Hollow Earth, you got freaking dogmen, you got rakes / pale crawlers, you have all these Bigfoot even can live underground. Like,
Yeah.
that's where they live is caves. So they probably live in the freaking underground too. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a whole cryptid nation.
That's
don't know.
funny. The rake is what that guy was trying to give me the 5th degree on. We called
It's all
it
bullshit, man.
Yeah, we called it a cryptid encounter. And he's just like, it's a creepy pasta. And then finally I messaged him. I'm like, what's your problem, dude? It's all creepy pasta.
So
I
we
mean,
talked
Well,
about
Jeremy,
on
Uh,
the man who blew up Bigfoot, that episode. When my dad was in Vietnam and he was a tunnel rat and he would go inside these tunnels, they would actually open up into caverns that had structures that had been carved out of rocks that had been there for thousands of years, and even the native Vietnamese didn't know what they were for. They just decided to repurpose them. And the 13th Warrior with Antonio Banderas, a lot of people don't realize that when Michael Crichton wrote that book, he actually based that off a real story. So there were runes that were discovered that talked about a battle with the Norse of these, I don't remember what they called them in the movie or in the book, but they're these people that basically wore like bear skins and they appeared to be dead. So modern archaeology went back and said, hey, that's actually the last known encounter of modern man with Neanderthal, because our timeline when we think about Neanderthal X amount of years ago is when the last Neanderthal went extinct. But here we actually have in like the 1500s, 1600s, we actually had this encounter with Vikings and Neanderthals, and it was actually recorded. And Michael Crichton Hollywood did a banger of a job of sprucing it up, but they lived in caves. So a lot of people's take on Bigfoot is Bigfoot an actual cryptid, or is Bigfoot more or less some type of Neanderthal that is just undiscovered, and the reason why we don't see them or the bodies aren't in the woods is because they're actually civilized. They actually have a civilization. So when they're dying out in the forest, they're actually carrying those bodies back to the cave systems that they live in, and they have their own underground culture, and that's why they can pop up here and pop up there. I don't really like the whole Bigfoot's like alien cyborg bullshit. I am gonna be more like, dude, Bigfoot's fucking underground in caves. That's where.
Thank
Bigfoot's
you.
at.
So do
Thank you.
do you think they are like
Skin and
just
bone.
some Scandinavian race that found their way into the cave system and they're
So,
wearing furs?
They're not
In
Scandinavian.
Scandinavian, they're
in
Scandinavian.
in
You said they were
um
big and tall.
in American folklore, so the Paiute Indians, there is Lovelock Cave, right? They talk about this race of giants that were covered in red hair. They were cannibals. They're basically a bunch of fucking a bunch of fucking assholes. And the Indians were just like, dude, if you don't stop fucking with us, like we're gonna get you. And these giants basically waged war with them, but they lived inside this cave system. So the Indians just fucking blew the cave tunnel in and then dropped like fiery wood down and smoked them out and suffocated all of them. And then hundreds of years later, we go and do an excavation, and we actually find these huge skeletal remains that are now in the they're like in a museum in the Arizona like college museum. So in the archaeology department, like just locked up in a cabinet, they have these giant skulls. There is another tale that actually goes up in Canada. I can't remember the name. It's called like the Lake of the Headless Men. So during westward expansion, when gold miners were making their way up through Alaska and going up into Canada, again, there's these tales of these 7-8 foot tall people that were fucking assholes, and if you encroached on their land, they would just go in and chop your head off. And so the tale became that you don't go to this region of the area because you're basically going to get decapitated. And so a lot of miners and people searching for gold ended up, they'd find the body washed down river with their head missing. But the tale is that the people doing it were something that was 7 to 8 foot tall. They were covered in some brownish to reddish hair. And even Native Americans, when they talk about Sasquatch, if you actually get down to the nuts and bolts of what they're describing, they are not describing Bigfoot or Sasquatch as a cryptid or as a monkey, a gorilla. They're actually, what they're describing is kind of like what Dad said in Vietnam with the mini Bigfoot there. The tribesmen, when Dad would talk to him, said that they're called the ugly people. They're just the wild men of the forest. They didn't think of them as monkeys. They thought of them as just uncivilized human beings that were just covered in hair. So even Native Americans, your Inuits in Alaska, they all describe the same thing as being just a wild person, like something that's not civilized, that's just covered in hair.
Yes.
In World War I, you have reports when Germany was invading Russia, they would be on the lookout for Russian soldiers. And in this official German document, they actually have where they went up to a cave system and they're like, dude, there's a bunch of fucking Russian soldiers in there, like mount your guns, get ready. And all of a sudden, and then this big hairy thing comes running out of the cave with a fucking wooden spear, and the German soldiers just unload lead, kill it. And when they go and look at it, they're like, dude, that's a fucking hairy guy. Like, what's a 7-foot hairy guy doing living in a cave? So all these reports, if you dig deep enough, all relate back to a 7 to 8 foot tall thing, hairy, that's humanoid, that's basically looks like an uncivilized man living in a cave system. And if archaeologically, if you go back and look at Neanderthals, especially like over you go over in England, that they've started to discovered cave sites that actually show Neanderthals actually had like churches, they had places of worship, they had buildings and structures that were hewn in these caverns. They were cave people that were primarily nocturnal, so they did all their activities at night, but they propagated in these caves. So it makes more sense to me. Bigfoot, yes, we call it a cryptid, but it's probably just an unknown, species of man, like a wild man that's just still living in cave systems. And you got crazy people who are like, no, dude, it's a fucking robot for aliens.
No,
I wish I had their eyesight, because my eyesight is dog shit at night.
I mean, I had a guest on my podcast a while ago, Lon Strickler out of Pennsylvania. He's a really well-known paranormal investigator, but cryptid investigator. But he insists that like Bigfoot and Dogmen are ultra terrestrials, and I'm like, no, that's not that. I mean, it's possible, but I find it so unlikely. Like Bigfoot is, I heard it a long time ago, but Gigantopithecus, like Gigantopithecus, however the fuck you say it, but like that's my explanation for Bigfoot right there.
Was it Ron Moorhead that did the Sierra Nevada files, where he actually went out into the forest and recorded it, took it to a linguist, and he's like, that's Proto-Japanese. Nobody's spoken this language in like thousands of years. I don't know exactly what it's saying, but from the sounds of it, he's saying, get the fuck out of my forest or I'm going to kill you. And Ron was like, all right, cool, I'm going back next week and I'll see what else I can grab. So I don't think, Proto-Japanese and like alien, if they were like alien, they'd be speaking like Klingon or some shit.
I mean,
that's just
ancient aliens, but
yeah. I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
I
mean,
am the skeptic. I've heard that Japanese footage, and I'm not.
The Sierra
not
Sounds,
impressed.
yeah.
The Sierra Sounds.
the Patterson Gimlin film is what sells it for me always.
Jesus Christ!
It's a female, and there was no suit like that ever made by movie people back in those days.
I'm gonna go with Jeremy on this. If you look at they've actually had AI analyze it, and the AI is like, yeah, that's an actual structure. Like it's got it's got a skeletal structure to it. You see boobies. I'm sorry, they're hairy boobies, but they're there.
Pendulous breasts is what we prefer to call those.
Yeah,
pendulous breasts.
We
and
should do
thick
an
thighs.
episode on this, because this like 30 seconds of film can be broken down for an hour.
Yeah. I would go as far as to say this: if we want to believe that Patterson Gimlin footage is fake, you can't argue with me that it did not at least inspire half a century of exploration and questioning, inspiration.
The Four Horsemen, it inspired the Four Horsemen of Bigfootery.
But he paid a fraudulent, it was a
Sasquatchery.
known con artist that paid with a fraudulent check to get the camera, the fucking camera equipment.
We've all paid for things fraudulently or with 5-figure discounts to get what we
Dude, if
needed.
I
Come on,
believe,
Scott.
I managed a mobile home park in Lancaster, California, and fucking ghetto apartment complex in Orem. I managed a storage container or storage complex in fucking Jacksonville, Florida, of a Phillips and Emerson. People come up with some crazy shit, and they will try to convince you to the fucking loot fullest. And they'll bring.
Of course they will.
There's that guy. God, Sean, what is that guy's name that we always make fun of on the show? He's like out of Texas.
Me?
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. Good God.
So he's been like,
I mean, it's Texas, so any Texan?
Yeah. Every 5 years he's in the news. Like, this is the guy who's discovered Bigfoot's body. And he'll do, I mean, when you look at him from the waist up, it looks like a Bigfoot, and they're very good fakes. But you look at them from the waist down, and it's like, dude, you put so much time and effort in the face and the eyes, but you can't get Bigfoot's wiener right.
Yeah.
But the Patterson Gimlin film, like experts have dissected that. Think about that for a second. A lot of experts have dissected that, and they're saying it's I can't 100% say it's real, but I can't say it's fake. You have this guy spending tens of thousands of dollars on a dummy, and he doesn't have enough common sense to be like, dude, make the pecker look real.
Rick Dyer. You're talking about Rick
Rick Dyer. That's my boy right there.
Or Ricky
Man.
D. Yeah.
Where the hell did Jeremy go?
He couldn't take it anymore.
Couldn't take it. I couldn't take the fact that Bigfoot, that Patterson Gimlin footage, dude, a grain of salt. Like, come on, dude. Like, all of the circumstantial evidence that's with it. Like, this is like Joseph Smith. If you believe in the Patterson Gimlin footage, you might as well believe in Mormonism. And I live in Utah. Just saying.
But you
Just
moved
saying.
to Utah. That's the difference. You chose to go there.
Okay, we got somebody. Oh, Jeremy, my internet crashed, but it's almost midnight here. I got to go. Goodbye, Jeremy.
Oh, dang, Jeremy. Well,
Yeah, it
and then
was
there were
fun.
4.
You
Damn.
guys do I don't know. Like I said, I've been listening for two Christmas times. You guys like play video games or something
Yeah.
for
So are you
like a
about
Christmas charity thing?
So we do it every November. It's pixelated for a purpose. It's basically our little run at the that's a Children's Miracle Network. Preston, what's it called? Extra Life.
Yep. Extra.
Where
life.
you pledge to play video games. Generally, if you do it the right way, the way you're supposed to do it, you pledge to play video games for 1 full day straight, 25 hours during daylight savings every fall.
Okay.
And you can do it anytime you want, but the true challenge is daylight savings because you have to get 25 full hours. And we've been doing that on and off. I think I've done 4 of them. Presto, you've been involved in what, 2 or 3? 2?
2. Yep.
2 of them. And then Rob has been doing it. Rob and Steve have been doing it for years before that. And yeah, I mean, that's what we all bonded through. That's the reason why we have the podcast at all, is because originally Rob and I would play Xbox. We met through our buddy Steven. And see, my cat is doing that thing where he's being a giant jerk. Oh boy, howdy. Give me just a second, guys.
Deborah, we're signing you up for this next year.
Oh my. For the video. Jeez.
Sean and I
That's
also
pretty cool, though,
do
actually.
Polar Plunge. We raise money for Special Olympics, and then you jump in 27, 21, 17 degrees cold water.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that hurts.
They have a thing that you can do that around here. Yeah. That's good.
It takes your breath away.
Are you talking about me not having pants on? Is that what took your breath away?
Maybe that's the Bigfoot. Maybe
No,
That's what took
we
my breath
were
away,
talking
buddy.
about polar plunge and jumping in like 17-degree water. And
Okay, so fun fact real quick. The room I record in is usually very warm because it's right by the outside heater. So to get my cat off of that window, I had to first leave the room and put pants on because I knew my lower half would be on camera.
You were wearing no pants during this show.
That's part of the Patreon if you want to see those goodies. Yeah, Polar Plunge, man. Preston and I do a lot of stupid stuff just for fun. So if you can raise money for it, it's just like, well, that's just cheating, isn't it?
Oh, that's awesome. You guys do that. I like that.
Yeah. Polar Plunge is a good time. We've done that. Preston, I think you have 1 year on me. I think you've done it 1 more year than I have, or maybe I did it 1 year without you and you've done it 1 year without me, maybe.
Yep.
Oh, that's a good time. Pain doesn't even really describe it. It's more like, if you believe in evolution, when you hit water that's 27 degrees, like your lizard brain kicks in, and all you can think of is like, survive, danger, danger. And then you realize like, oh, I got to breathe too. Like when you get out of the water.
I always say it's like you feel your soul leaving your body and you're just sitting there emotionless. And then all of a sudden your soul goes back in. You're like, oh shit. Not only do I have to breathe, but I got to get the fuck out of this water and you try to get your limbs to move.
Yeah.
And it's like, I might be drowning. I'm not really sure what's going on right now.
Yeah, when that electric cold water hits you, you just kind of freeze, and then your body's like, "Hey, drive, jackass!" And you got to get back up out of the water. Now we'll redo it. They normally have firemen in wetsuits there at the ready in case you have like a half a second of distress. Then they'll get you out of the water pretty quick. So,
see, I was born in Phoenix and grew up in the desert. So
It'd be pretty hard
I
on
want to
you.
move to Brazil. Like Utah is too cold for me. Whatever you guys are dealing with is nonsense. I'm not doing that.
Oh, it's a good time. You know, it's one of those things. My
Good
mentality
time.
is if it's my time, it's my time. If that was what was in the cards, then by God, fate played
What a
out.
way to go. It was for a
Yeah.
good cause.
When it
Yeah.
gets to 100 and I'm actually sweating, that is a good time. Like 80 is uncomfortable, but when I'm sweating, I'm good to go.
No kidding, huh? Then your blood's pumping and you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I'm like white as fuck. Like I don't understand.
You were meant for
Evolution
dark
happens
spaces.
quick.
Yeah. Maybe you're a cave dweller, man, and that's why your skin's so light. You're meant to be, you know,
Yeah.
Or
subterranean.
like a hot spring dweller. I don't know.
Yep. That'd be all right, man. I love
I
me a
could do
good hot
that, yeah.
spring.
Sign me up for that.
Yeah, no, everybody starts bitching when it gets to 80 degrees over here in Utah. I swear to God, the first year we moved here, I was bundled up like the Christmas Story kid, and we went to go see the Mormon temple because they do like a big show. They haven't done it in the past couple of years, and they're not doing it this year because they're under construction.
Mhm.
But like I'm fucking bundled up like the Christmas Story kid, can't move my arms down, and I am freezing my dick off, bundled up, and I see a dude walking around in a t-shirt and shorts.
Oh, there's
Mhm.
always
Like,
that guy everywhere.
You are different. You are something different than I am. Like,
Yeah, you are made of
whatever
spare
the-
parts, buddy.
whatever the fuck is going on, dude. Like, I couldn't do it.
You know, that was the way I used to, in my own mind, boost my immune system every year. Is I would just wear flip-flops, shorts, and a t-shirt wherever I went for like the first like 2 weeks whenever we'd had a good freeze.
Fuck
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think, and again, it builds character, like the Krampus bells, man. It's teaching you to be a better person.
What's the name of that guy? And he teaches spiritual stuff, and he does the ice
Hoffman.
baths. And yes,
Hoffman
that guy, and
something.
he.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wim
yeah.
Hof as well. Wim
Yeah,
Hof.
Oh
Wim Hof.
yeah, there
That's
we
who
go.
it is. Yeah.
Wim Hof.
I've got what's his name? Scott Carney has a book called What Doesn't Kill Us. And I believe, I haven't read it yet. I believe the premise is he was like a reportive journalist who went somewhat, not really undercover, but he went as a skeptic into one of Wim Hof's training sessions to learn the deep breathing. And then he wrote this book about how it ironically changed his whole life. So, I mean, there's something to it.
Well, my name is Scott, and I was a carny. So
Wow. Did you write this
there is
book?
no, there's no correlation. I'm fucking moving to Brazil as soon
What a
as I get
convenient
enough
cover,
money.
though, for you to say, I hate cold stuff. In reality, you're breathing through your diaphragm and
I got the fucking heater bumped up to 74, dude. Like the
gross.
heater is blowing me right now, and I'm fucking cold.
And
still.
you're shivering. It's all the ice cold beer. That's what's keeping you
I
going.
don't think so.
So you had told me in our chat that you had a story that happened on Christmas. Do you want to regale us with that tale?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we did a ghost story on our show. I didn't get to well, I guess I did do this one, but like, so the first time I ever, like when I got with my wife 18 years ago, I snuck into her house and I had to use her bathroom. Worst night of my life, right? Like I'm in her house. We're doing girlfriend, boyfriend stuff. I have to use the bathroom. And then like, shit, I can't use the bathroom. Her mom's there. So I go to the Rite Aid, and that was the first time I have ever shit, diarrhea, and puked at the same fucking time.
Wow.
But when I was in her bathroom, like I could tell that her shit was haunted. Like her house was fucking haunted.
I think
And-
you haunted it with the burritos you
No,
had.
no. I am the
Chimichanga
skeptic.
bombs.
Like I reached out to everyone, and Deborah and Jeremy came on, and Tamira. Or is it Tamira?
Mara, yeah.
Tamira, okay. And we started this podcast. I've always been the skeptic, but I have had these special sightings. So I thought her shit was haunted. And I move into her house and a bunch of crazy shit happens. Like her mom's candles burn opposite directions. Like her brother's passed out and the fucking TV just turns on out of nowhere and the volume goes all the way up. But then it was Christmas Eve. I came back. I was a janitor for the movie theater, and we had 3 dogs, and then her mom had a bunch of dogs, and they all slept with us on our bed. And when I would come home, I would have my coffee and I'd smoke a cigarette and like put the shit on the end table. But then we woke up Christmas morning and my coffee, half full, was stuck in the middle of the bed and the ashtray with fucking like 7 dogs on the fucking bed.
Whoa.
And then I woke up first. None of the dogs are moving. And there's the fucking coffee standing up straight on a queen size bed and the ashtray. But like that wasn't the craziest ghost story I had, but
That's still pretty nuts, man. I mean, with that much going on the bed, 2 people plus, a menagerie of dogs, that's impressive
yeah,
that
no,
someone
like,
didn't knock it over.
the craziest thing is like we used to party in the desert, right? We're from the desert, and we used to hang out in juniper trees. So we would start a fire in the juniper tree and there'd be like 20 of us hanging out. And then one time everyone else fell asleep and my wife and I were up when the sun came up. And all of a sudden we heard our friend Colin, who had not been there that night, come in and say, "Hey guys, let's go." And then he was like talking to us. I don't remember exactly what he was saying, but like we were talking sentences to each other. And my wife and I were up still. So we fucking got up and there was no one there. And
Huh.
he had no recollection of that. So
He
like
has
it
no
wasn't
memory of
like
being
a
there at all.
Xanax blackout or something like
Huh.
6 a.m. Well, probably like 5:30 in the morning. I'm drunk.
Now you saw
was
him
fun.
or you just heard him?
We heard him, but we were
Uh-huh.
talking to him.
Gotcha. Okay. That's wicked.
But yeah, no, I'm not like a big paranormal believer, but I've had some crazy shit that's happened. And that's one night I got drunk and wanted to start a paranormal podcast. And that's Deborah's stuck here right now.
Yeah. That's how it all started.
That's how it all started. Well, that's wild, man. Wow.
So what are your guys' stories?
Well,
Like I know this shit's running late, but like if you want to tell
I mean,
your
we
story.
could end it on a high note. Preston, how much time you got? You got like 10 minutes?
Man, I got all the time in the world for you, boo.
Oh, look
Good.
at
We
that.
are doing it all night long, Preston.
You're right.
Let's
So
go
send in
out
your
and start making
donations.
some woodwork.
Yeah.
Right. So I got this wicked one, man, that happened. And I haven't really told it very often because it's one of those stories you tell people, especially like when you're in middle school and high school and they think you're just batshit crazy. But so this one night, I was out at my grandma's house in this little town called Roselia. And we're talking like middle of nowhere, Kansas, in a town with a population of like 100 people. And I got to set up the layout of my grandma's house real quick. It's this kind of old farm type house where you walk in the front door and you can see straight through to the back door. So you walk in and you can either go straight through the living room or you can hang a quick right and go into her bedroom. But if you keep going straight, you walk down this like super long living room, and there's a little room kind of off to the side of that. So like her living room is like an L shape. Think of it that way. You can keep walking through the living room into her kitchen, where you can either turn and go to the bathroom or keep going straight. You go down one little step and now you're in her laundry room. And the laundry room has a back door with a little window cut into it and 2 curtains, which goes out in the backyard. And in the backyard, she has this really tall, like street light. It's supposed to be a lamppost, but it's like a big wooden street light. I don't know why it was there. It's always been there since I can remember. And behind that, you got a row of cedar trees, which separates her yard from the football field that the high school owns. So anyway, it's summertime around midnight, and I had to have been like 8 or 10 years old. And it's just me and my grandma that weekend. My brother had stayed home, and it's pretty cool outside for a summer evening. So grandma has all the windows open. That way we get a nice little breeze going through. And so grandma's asleep in her bedroom, and I'm laying inside on an air mattress right outside of her bedroom in the living room. And I'm laying there just staring up at the ceiling fan, listening to the sounds outside. You know, the highway's kind of wafting off in the distance. You got crickets and birds, and or, I'm sorry, crickets and bugs chirping. And all of a sudden, I get this weird surge of adrenaline, and I can't explain why or where, but like panic just sets in, and all I can think of is like, grandma. And I don't know what caused it. Maybe, you know, sixth sense, I don't know. But when I'm laying there, I can hear her still breathing. I can hear her kind of snoring once in a while. So I'm like, okay, she's okay. Why am I worried about grandma? And then I notice the air suddenly gets kind of like dry feeling, like static electricity. And then suddenly I notice all the noises outside are gone too. Crickets are quiet. There's no leaves rustling. I can't hear the highway. It's like that weird Oz effect that a lot of people talk about before, like shit's about to go, you know, down. And then I realize as I'm looking up at the ceiling fan, I can't move. And it's like sleep paralysis. I'm wide awake, but the whole body's just shut down, frozen. And so I'm laying there on this mattress, and all I can do is just move my eyes around and barely look down past my feet. So I have a clear view of the back door. And I look down through the back door, and I can look through the window, through the curtains, and I can see this street light out behind her house. And it starts flickering, like strobing, but it's not a consistent pattern. It's just kind of like flicker, flicker, flash, dim, flash. And then I happen to notice that looking up through the window are 2 big old black eyes. And this thing, whatever has these eyeballs, is just tall enough to just peek, you know, just over the bottom of the window. And I'm just like scared shitless. And I look up at the ceiling fan and I kind of wait, you know, for a count of like 10, and I look down. And then standing in the laundry room now on the other side of the back door is this like 3.5, 4 foot tall little gray thing standing there, big head, little body, you know, long arms, big old black eyes. And it's just standing there, just motionless. And I'm, you know, hypothetically shitting the bed. I look back up at the ceiling fan. I count to like 10 or 15. I look back down, and now this thing's in the kitchen. So it's like going from 50 feet to like 40 feet. And now it's about 30 or 40 feet away from me. And I'm just like, oh God, oh God, oh God, what is this? What's going on? I look back up at the ceiling fan. I look back down towards my feet. And this thing just takes off at a dead sprint, just flying towards me, running through the house. It's going so fast, it clips this bag like a Walmart sack full of like yarn that's hanging on the back of this chair. And the bag just goes boom and just starts like flying back and, you know, rocking back and forth. And I'm just thinking like, oh God, oh dear God, Jesus, like what's going to happen? And this thing just jumps, lunges for me, hands outstretched. And it's all I can do to finally barely move. And I kind of go like, and like pull my arm up in front of me to kind of shield myself from this thing. And after about 10 or 15 more seconds, I'm still frozen, covering my face, eyes closed. I open my eyes and I look past my arm, and whatever was there is gone. I'm by myself in the house again. I can move my body again. You can hear the bugs outside and the sound of the truck start picking back up. And all that's left is that bag of yarn just swaying back and forth, slowly kind of slowing back down. I don't know what it was. I was too scared to ask my grandma what it was. I've never told her about it. She's since passed away, but I don't know. One of the weirdest things that's ever happened.
So do you think that was because I had sleep paralysis and I've talked about it on our show. I did not see any type of creature or anything, but it was like real life. Like I was sitting in a chair. We had moved to this house and we had actually moved to we managed apartment complex before we moved to this house. We had to move back to Utah because my mother-in-law was passing. And I was actually sitting in this exact chair and, you know, long night, I fell asleep or whatever the fuck sleep paralysis is. And I woke up in the fold-up chair that I would have sat in when we were in Jacksonville, Florida, except none of our shit was there. So it was like exactly how we left it. And I was screaming for my wife, my kids, like just fucking trying to be noticed, but I could not talk. And it lasted like 20 real life minutes.
Jesus.
But then I woke up, but there was no demon, like I was just paralyzed. So do you think that is like a mental thing, or do you think that is like with your experience, do you think
I
it's
mean,
a mental thing, or do you think
it all
it's
felt
weird?
it's
Feels
bizarre,
weird.
whatever it was. If it was just a figment of my imagination, it's super weird. And I mean, like, I was into all this stuff way, way early. We're talking, you know, 7, 8 years old. I was buying UFO books and stuff like that. I've had regular sleep paralysis back when I was that young. And I mean, up until a few years ago, it kind of quit. But like normal sleep paralysis to me, if there's any kind of figure, it's like a shadowy person. It's like a human figure. You know, they're built, they have shoulders and arms and hips and knees, and
But you
they're
saw
always like,
gray.
it looked like a fucking gray, you
Yeah.
know. And I mean, I grew up watching the show Sightings on Sci-Fi Channel, you know, and a little bit of X-Files here and there. So like it's in my vernacular, you know. But every time I've had regular straight up sleep paralysis, it's always been like just shadowy people. There's no definitive features. They all look human, like, you know, normal sized heads and everything. Almost
Or
even
the
like
spiders.
TV static.
Don't forget the spiders.
And fucking yeah,
Oh,
sparkly
yeah, fuck
spiders and shit
that,
like
dude.
that. Yeah, we could stay on till tomorrow if you want, talking about weird shit. Just the
Dude,
stuff that me and
if
Presto have seen. But
if I start getting sleep paralysis where I see demons, I am smoking weed nonstop. There are no more
That's really
dreams.
common though, isn't
I'm
it?
not
To see the
fucking.
hag and stuff. That's common for sleep paralysis.
yeah, the old
A lot
hag
of
and all
kids.
that. That's pretty normal.
I didn't see any of it. That was what was weird about it, because I looked it up and like you're supposed to see this like demon on your chest.
Are you sure? Like, what about astral projection though? Maybe you just project.
That's what I was thinking, man.
That's what I think, and that's a
yeah,
100% believe.
But
Talking
my
about waking up
chair
and-
was in my garage, not in Florida.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
That's
but
what
you
I
can
thought is
project
astral
anywhere.
projection. Yeah.
It was freaky even without the demon. If I saw the demon, like I
that
mean,
was it.
pretty close, it might come to this.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, no
if that
doubt.
should happen on the regular.
Yeah, I don't know. It could easily be, you know, a state of almost sleep where the whole body's asleep. It's just my mind is awake. The thing that was tangible that makes me look back and go, oh, was the damn
really
bag.
Yes, because
The
that's
bag.
a physical effect.
Yeah, because that's a tangible physical thing. Yeah. And the way it got hit and it just like wildly swung back and forth. And then we're talking about 30 seconds afterwards, it's still just kind of wafting back and forth, slowing down. That was what was wild. Was I can explain away all of it to active imagination, because God love her, my grandma's who got me into horror movies, and I'm a horror nut. So I was watching freaky shit I shouldn't have been watching way before 8 years old. So I mean, it could have easily been in my mind, but just seeing the bag is what was just wild. And being fully awake, like I sat up and I'm moving around and looking, and the bag is just, you know, like a pendulum. So I don't know.
No, I get it. I totally get that.
Presto, what did you bring to the table, buddy? Because you've had some weird stuff go on too.
I brought sleep paralysis to the table as well. Yeah.
There's a theme.
Yeah. So I kind of like Sean, maybe up until 2 years ago, like I suffer from sleep paralysis a lot. And 9 times out of 10, it would be I would wake up and there's like this almost like a vibration noise, like you just hear the like this loud like vibration noise, and I just couldn't move. Like I just felt this pressure, like this force being put over my whole entire body where I could move my eyes, but whichever way, like when I woke up, my head was turned, like that's my peripheral, that's all I'm seeing. And every now and then, like, I would wake up and I always sleep on my back. So I'm waking up and, I can't really move my head, can't move my legs or arms. And there's like this multicolored spider just dangling from the ceiling. And I'm just watching it drop on this web. So, like, if you look at lights and then close your eyes, how you see those bursts of colors, like that's what this spider looked like. And it would just go down and go down. And the minute it would hit my chest, all of a sudden it's like, boom, I can pop out of bed. Never really saw a lot of shadow figures. So shadow figures and sleep paralysis is not something really where I could start listing all these different sleep paralysis episodes, and hardly any of them have shadow figure. So growing up, my dad.
Hold on a second here. You guys both have this shit on the regular.
I mean,
up until
I haven't had it
up until like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. I mean, it'd be like every couple weeks I would wake up and I would have sleep paralysis.
So I've heard, so back to astral projecting. So a lot of people that get sleep paralysis, that's like before you project, you get that kind of paralysis feeling if you're what you're doing, if you're doing it intentionally. And then you get the vibrating, and then you can move your astral body out. There's techniques and stuff. But a lot of people, that sleep paralysis kind of is the step into going to that, if you can overcome the fear of whatever. So have you guys ever tried to use some techniques and just see if that works, or are you interested in that at all? Or
well, I've only had it once, and like I want to hear the rest of your story, Preston, and answer Deborah's question, but like how do you not ever have it again is my biggest question. Like,
do you ever play dice like Yahtzee? It's kind of like playing Yahtzee. You can't control like when it's
just
gonna
roll
happen.
The dice.
And then like here's the thing, with my luck at least, I'll be like, yeah, it hasn't happened for like a couple years, and then I'll message you tomorrow and be like, dude, shit happened last night. Because that's just the kind of luck I have. But I don't know. I mean, I've had it in childhood homes, potentially my grandma's, all 4 places my wife and I have lived together, and an apartment and 3 houses. It just, I don't know. And now the weird thing is, post-COVID, when I had COVID a year ago, October, my lingering, long COVID side effect is just brutal insomnia. So that could play in it, that the insomnia, just the lack of sleep, is what's preventing it. Because I mean, the thing is, if you have insomnia, you just grab that horse by the neck and just ride that baby, stay up and get shit done. I don't usually sit until I'm ready to go to sleep. I'll pop a sleeping pill and then sit down and I go to sleep. But until then, like, I'll just take advantage of the time I have.
Yeah. So my dad passed away about 2.5, or well, it's coming up on 2 years ago. Big John Wiener. And so we took over the house that I actually grew up in. And so this studio is right next to the bedroom in the basement that I spent a lot of my childhood in. And my mom, God rest her soul, she would make tostadas a lot. And living out in the country, being on a septic system, like you can't have a garbage disposal and flush
it's
all
swamp
that.
gas.
Yeah. And so dad would always say, like, after making the tostadas, like, you gotta, honey, pour the oil in the trash or put it in a can and take it outside. And she would just dump all that shit down the sink. Well, the pipes got clogged, and so
it's not just a septic thing.
Yeah, so this basement bedroom was long enough that on one side, I had my bed, and on the other side I had like a full couch and a TV. So I'm sitting there I was probably senior year, maybe. I'm sitting on my 1970s green paisley couch playing PlayStation 2, and there's like this explosion, and I feel like all this like wet shit dripping down my face, and there's like this giant gnarly hole in the ceiling on that side of the room, and I'm just like, oh my God, like the drywall, like my whole head's like just caved in, like what's going on? And it was actually like 5-day-old, salsa and pig grease and everything else. So, but dad was really bad about, because he worked for the government like full time, and so he'd get home, he'd be like, fuck it, dude, I don't want to deal with it, it's just a hole in the ceiling. And so that hole's actually still there today, because we're in the process of remodeling, so I haven't touched it yet. And that basement room had like 2 windows that let enough light in that like at night you could really see, like inside the hole there was enough light that you could see the pipes and everything, and the electrical wiring. And so I remember like waking up, and there was like this heavy vibration sensation going on. I can see the ceiling fan spinning like super quick, and the only thing from how I was laying, like the way that my head was angled, I could see that corner of the room where that hole was, but I could no longer see the piping. I could no longer see the electrical wiring. It was like this very dark mass was covering up this hole, and it kept getting wider and wider and kind of engulfing the room. So it's like washing this shadow, kind of getting closer this way toward my side of the bedroom. And then it like stopped. And then out of that hole, this hand drops. I don't know if have you guys seen the original It that had Tim Curry in it as Pennywise the Clown? That scene where those kids are in the sewer and they pop him in the head with a rock, and he drops down, and that hand shoots back up the drain, and it's got the big long gnarly fingers and the fingernails. That's the best way to tell you that's what this hand looked like. And it was just slowly dropping out of the ceiling. And then in my mind, I'm like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. It just stops, and it's just hanging there. And I got the impression that whatever it was is like, oh shit, this kid's awake. It's not supposed to see me. So it slowly starts to just suck its hand back in this black, massy hole. And then the sleep paralysis is still there. I'm like, so the hand's gone, but I can't move. And then all of a sudden, you see the hand drop back down, go like this, and then wave at me. And it's like these fucking demon bat wings just kind of unfold, and it's just hanging there for a second, just going like this, and then very quickly sucks itself back in the hole. And then that whole shadow side of that room, you just see it start shrinking until all of a sudden you can actually see all the piping, all the wiring in the hole. And then all of a sudden it's like, I just bolted out of bed, like I can move again. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking going upstairs. I can't sleep here the rest of the night, so I'm just gonna go binge watch TV at like 3 a.m. So, and that's, normal sleep process. Like I said, in England they call them scuddlers, where you see like spiders or like crab-like things moving around, and they're multicolored. Like I'm totally used to that, but I hardly ever see shadowy figures, and that's the first time where I saw a hand, but it was like fucking long and creepy, and I got the sensation like I'm not supposed to see it. And then it just fucking disappeared. Like it waved hi, like, hi, motherfucker. And then boom, gone. So.
Oh, well, that's pretty fascinating. I've never had sleep paralysis. My son does. He gets it quite regularly, but I have many experiences with spirits. But not scary stuff, because I've kind of always had that stuff happening. But I mean, I have a million, stories about, music starting, like a radio starting in the basement kind of thing. I've had people come, over, and there's, a spirit around the house, and it touches their hair, like they see something. And
wow.
But it's not a scary thing. So I'm just so used to it. And, it's my mom and my grandma and everybody kind of were mediums, I guess, is what it is. And I really shut myself down to it because I grew up Catholic, but it just is what it is. But I'm not asleep. So I don't know if that just makes me crazy and you guys are just having bad dreams, or if this is all really, but I'm pretty much a believer because it's just it's such a natural thing for me.
Yeah, no doubt.
And there's
So
stuff
are
like,
you
sometimes you feel negative stuff, but you just ask it to go, and they do, right? You can push off negative stuff.
right?
But I had
So
a great thing like what you were talking about. I found that interesting but I was not asleep. And I was reading, and maybe I was falling asleep. I don't know.
uh-huh.
But
You heard the gray thing too? Like you saw
I
the
so
gray?
I've never, I don't share this story because and I've actually seen them twice. But I was reading a book, but I'm awake, and I look
Mhm.
over, it's just like this dim little light, and I was with my ex at the time, and this gray, and it was just like that, kind of a big head, little body, long arms, and it reached out to touch me, and I like freaked out and jumped on him, and I was like, "There's a guy in the room," but I was awake. And he's
Whoa.
like, there's nobody there or whatever, but there was a death to like a couple days later. And that was a long, long time ago. And then just a few years ago, I had another one visit, and there was another, and it's kind of more like traumatic deaths when they show up. So it's kind of a harbinger kind of thing, is
Oh
I
wow.
guess. Yeah, but both times I like you instinctively, but I don't think I'm asleep, or maybe I am, but I don't know.
Do you witness them enter the room, or is it like a thing that's like just in your periphery and you just kind of look over and
Just
notice
that,
it?
like, yeah, like I'm doing
Huh.
like reading, and then it catches my eye, and then when it reaches, it's just instinctive to like, you don't
Oh
want
God, yeah. It's like that uncanny valley of like, you're
terrifying.
not supposed to be here. Don't
Yeah,
touch me.
right. Yeah. So yeah, and I've never shared that story because it's just so bizarre because I am very
Yeah.
feel awake.
Uh-huh. Well, I
And
mean, like that's like the thing at my
it's not like a
grandma's.
ghost playing music. It's like something, I don't know.
Yeah, next level.
Yeah. So,
Something completely different. Well, it's
you
like the
know,
thing that at my grandma's house, I don't share that a lot. Preston's heard me tell it. I think I've shared it on the show once before, but like that's the kind of stuff where like ghosts are one thing, like they're kind of fun, especially if they're, very nice and they're not, like an
yeah, and
evil
you just
presence.
get a
But like,
scent or, stuff like that. Or
Very
yeah,
nice.
when you say, I think I saw an alien, people are like, oh, look at the time. I
Yeah.
think the coffee pot's on.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I always kind of smooth it over, but like, I mean, hey, it could have been a figment of my imagination. Maybe I was asleep. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's bizarre. I mean, I've heard tales of all this stuff kind of intertwines, with shadow people. I've read, stories and articles about like how they're the foot soldiers, like the Greys are kind of like these the worker bees, and below them would be like shadow people, and those are more just like observers, and they might come scout out an area, and then shortly after you might notice the Gray showing up to get a little closer and look a little closer. So who knows, like you said, it could have just been a spirit type thing, or maybe, I don't know, a harbinger. You say it happens before death or after death?
Before, just a few
Oh
days before like a
yeah,
more traumatic kind of event.
man,
So
that's rough.
Have you
And like,
ever seen Grays, Preston?
no, nope. I have not. I was gonna say I used to be on the fence, like with sleep paralysis. Is it an actual event that's taking place, or is it just because your mind woke up, but your body's not quite there yet, so you're still in that hyper dream state?
mhm.
I actually was with my brother going through several investigations in cemeteries and stuff. And normally, like when we get done with the investigation, I'll be like, hey, if anything's here, like you don't have permission to follow us home. And I try to close it off. And I didn't one night, went home, went to sleep. And in one of the houses that I was in, it's kind of like the master bathroom and bedroom were combined, and so there was like one of those giant windows in the bathroom that was frosted, so it always let a lot of light in. So if that bathroom door was open at night, you could see the wall in front of the bed, so the TV stand, the dresser, all of that was very clear. And I woke up and that side of the room was just dark, and you see the shadow kind of pull away from the wall and go toward the edge of the bed. And there was like this 4 foot, maybe 5 foot tall silhouette of kind of, I got the impression of a female figure, and it was just standing at the end of the bed, just kind of looking at me. And I couldn't move. And at the time I had like a little wiener dog, and he slept outside of the bedroom in his
Because he
crate,
would
which was
pee
always
all
open.
over everything, right? I
Yeah.
fucking hate
And so
wiener dogs.
you as I'm just sitting there like watching this 4-foot shadowy figure just eyeball me, and I'm eyeballing it back, all of a sudden the wiener dog just bolts in the bedroom, goes toward the end of the bed, and just ape shit crazy barking. And then you see that figure just go back into the wall, make a shadow, and then suck itself into nothing and disappear. And the minute it happened, like I was able to bolt out of bed and actually move, but the dog was reacting to where that figure was. And so I was like, maybe all that shit that happened in the past with sleep paralysis, maybe there was something to it. I don't know. So
Yeah.
So is that what got you believing?
In the beginning, yes. And then I started going to cemeteries with like a recorder, and I would get EVPs. I play them back to my brother. My brother is actually a practicing Buddhist, and so he's all reincarnation and doesn't really believe in spirits and things like that, and he thought I was batshit crazy. We were attending a funeral in Augusta, and after the lunch, there was about an hour and a half before the actual service, and so there was another cemetery on the other side of town and said, hey, I got an hour to kill, you got an hour to kill, let me go show you that this shit's real. And I took him with me, got the recorder out, we walked the whole cemetery. It's out in the middle of the country, we're by ourselves, nobody around for miles. And so my thing during that time, like with the recording, I would always say, like, if there's any spirits that are willing and wanting to talk with us, we're here. We don't mean you any disrespect. I'm a believer. I'm just trying to ascertain a better understanding of the afterlife. My brother over here, he's a non-believer. So if you could leave him a message that will prove to him that this shit's real, I greatly appreciate it. And so we'd walk to the other side of the cemetery, and I would say the same thing. Walk to the other side of the cemetery, I would say the same thing. So we did this for about 30 minutes. Maybe 25 minutes into the recording, you hear me give that spiel about how like he's a non-believer. If you could just leave me a message, and there's this clear male voice, very crackly, that goes, Christ is dead. So downloaded it on the computer, emailed it to him, and he's like, oh shit, dude, like we were the only ones in that cemetery out in the middle of nowhere. Who the fuck said that? And I'm like, well, you told me I was full of shit, so disprove it. And then that's what really kind of got us started on that whole thing. And then I look back at just the sleep paralysis and not being able to explain it, like that does kind of give you an open mind to those events and to those things. And so yeah, here we are.
So what do you guys think? Like, when I die, I want to be burned immediately. I ain't getting no burial. My wife wants to be buried in one of them tree pod things. Like,
Those are pretty cool.
yeah, but like think about it. I know most paranormal people believe that like you're gonna be up walking around the cemetery, fucking hanging out with all the other people. But what if you're stuck in that fucking box? What if you are stuck in that fucking box? I want to be burned. End it all right now. I do not want to go crazy in that fucking box.
I don't think
guess
your spirit hangs around your body at all.
Yeah. So
I
I think my personal belief is I think you make a choice on whether you want to pass on or not. And I actually have a recording where there's this cemetery right across the street from where I work, where I went one day, and I'm asking the questions, and clearly on the recorder you hear a male voice say he's curious, and you hear a female voice say, yes, I know he is. And then the next day when I go back, I ask the question, like, why haven't you moved on? And the response that I got, which sounds almost like the exact same male voice from the previous recording, says, I'm too afraid. So I think a lot of, like, when you go to cemeteries, if you're getting EVPs, I think because whatever is there just doesn't want to move on, for just because we don't, that's the undiscovered journey. We don't know what's awaiting for us on the other side. So all of a sudden we're on death's door. We're there. You got to make a choice to move on. And they're like, nope, I fucking rather just hang out in this place and just be a fucking ghost, because I don't know what's on the other side.
But how far do you get to go from your body, right? Like you're buried 6 feet deep. Like I ain't taking that chance, dude. Burn my ass. Burn
I want to.
my ass. And
I
then
want to be
feed me to
cremated
the
too.
people who were at my
I do
funeral.
too.
I want to, wherever I keel over, cut me open, harvest anything that can go help somebody else out. Because like
Yes.
I've been lucky enough to do some pretty rad shit, like the Manitou Incline in Colorado and polar plunges and tough mudders and countless fun adventures. So like if you can take my kidney or whatever, and then
Yes.
whoever's sick can be like, oh shit, now they can go do rad stuff. Let's do
Just
that.
not your
And
liver.
Yeah, not my
I make
liver.
the joke that I got rid of
Or
a
my
drinking
lungs.
problem during COVID because I didn't like to drink by myself. I drink
That's my
less
favorite
now.
time to drink.
Yeah. But no, I mean, yeah, whatever you can use, scrap me for parts and then burn it all up. Put me in a coffee can and then bury me in the ground somewhere.
Isn't
Hell
it
yeah, dude.
fascinating? They have their stories about, and this is, really well documented. There's a couple stories, but there was a little girl and she had a heart transplant from another little girl who had been murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And she was having all these dreams and whatever, and she described the crime and they ended up making an arrest because
Yeah.
the body,
Yeah.
like at a cellular level, retained all that
Yeah.
information.
Yep.
I'm like, the human body and the human like our energetic bodies and everything, it's fascinating. And I really do believe there's got to be other dimensions and stuff. Like I said, I don't know if I was asleep or not, but it just makes sense that there's so much more. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, that's why, man, I'm bummed that Jeremy's off of here because I wanted to talk about interdimensional Bigfoot with him. So I'll save that. That way you have to have us back on. Haha.
Yeah.
Well, like talking about other dimensions, right? Like think about the fourth dimension. That's whatever we see except time immemorial. Like
Mhm.
I've spent a lot of time trying to think about the fourth, fifth dimension, or even the second dimension. Like that is what brings me to simulation theory. I think there's somebody in the fourth dimension that
Mhm.
made us for lottery winnings or to test dog food or whatever the fuck it's
Yeah.
doing, right? Like
Um,
it's trying to pass a law. Let's
yeah.
make these fuckers.
A lot
We are
of
close. We're close
a
to
lot of your
NPCs.
Yeah,
a lot of
maybe.
your ancient religions though actually talk about that concept where this is the school. So we were
Yeah.
created so that you have a physical body so that you can learn lessons, and then if you get them right, you get to move on to the next level. If you get them wrong, you're fucking coming back and you're doing it all over again
But
until you get it right.
that's where I think it's wishful thinking. Like we want to live, right? Like us as people, the four of us, we want to live. We want to go on. We want the afterlife, but you don't always get what you want, kids. You don't always.
That's why you
what
get
want.
reincarnated as a
so
caterpillar.
I do,
Like,
and so I totally believe in reincarnation.
Yeah.
And think and the whole spirit thing. Some spirits don't want to pass on because they're confused or they have business or whatever. But I
Yeah.
think a lot of spirits come back and forth. They kind of guide us, and then choose a time to come back to Earth.
But-
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
Don't-
all the things can be true. It all makes sense, and all religions kind of have their own take on it, but it's all kind of the same sort of themes, and it all actually makes sense.
Exactly. But don't you want to win the lottery? Like, but that never happens. Right?
That
Like,
happens.
I got a
like,
buddy
we
of
want
mine.
What are you
a lot
talking
of
about?
things.
The
Our
lottery?
brains make us think a lot of things, but like I personally believe we're just non-player characters in this world.
Yeah.
And when it's done, it's done.
I got a buddy whose ex-wife's family won the lottery. And they took him along with them. They said, hey, we're going to move out of state. If you want to move with us, we'll get you a house.
My parents' neighbors won the Fantasy 5 and they got $100,000, which paid off half of their medical debt. So it's
Hey,
like,
I mean,
That's
that's
pretty good. What do you
take it
think?
where you can get it.
well,
Like
$100,000 paying
$7.
off half. Like, come on,
Yeah.
dude.
That's,
I think we are wishful thinkers. We're dreamers.
What do you think about
And-
people though? Some people win 3, 4, 5, 7 times one guy won. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
he
dude, have
always
you ever
knows how to
watched the
do it.
documentaries on them? They're
Uh-huh.
paying thousands of dollars every week to play the fucking lottery.
That's
The
true.
dude,
Yeah.
the
You
dude
gotta
that
play to
won,
win. You gotta
my-
play to win.
my parents' neighbor, I would see him in the liquor store. At California, we had liquor stores. And he would buy like, fucking $100 worth of tickets here.
Oh
And
my
then there
God.
was a liquor store across the street. And then he would buy fucking more tickets there, probably $100. And then he won at the VFW that was a mile away. So like, God knows how many hundreds of dollars. This motherfucker
Yeah.
never won anything. He might have got a slight reimbursement on his fucking
Yeah.
money.
I got a buddy whose wife, they would buy the crossword scratch offs all the time. Those are about $2 a pop. And it was one day they were like super, super like between paychecks, like they got like $20 to get through 2 days.
Mhm.
And she bought a crossword and he just berated her and belittled her. He's like, we can't eat this ticket. I could eat $2 worth of McDonald's. What are you doing? She ends up winning $20,000 off of it.
10,000
And-
going to the government.
Yeah, 20,000. And he said he complained. He's like, well, 6,000 went to taxes. And I said, well, Ken, if you don't want the other 14,000, holler at your boy. I mean, I'm happy to give them 6,000, still walk away with 14. But he kind of smirked and he's like, well, it's probably paid back about half of what I've spent on them damn things. And I just thought, holy shit.
Yeah, it's
That's
gamblers math,
wild.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy. So yeah, now I think anytime I want to buy a scratch off, I'll just throw that $2 into a jar, and then at the end of the year, be
Well,
like, "Oh shit!"
In Utah, we're not allowed to buy them. So
Really?
yeah, we can't buy can't buy the Mega Million, the fucking
Whoa.
anything.
There's no lottery, like no.
No lottery at
Wow.
all. This is fucking hardcore Mormonsville.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I was a big fan of just like $1 on the Super Lotto, $1 on the
Yeah.
Fantasy Five,
Yeah.
and $1 on the Mega Million every week. And I'm not gambling, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm paying just like I would pay for cable.
It's a donation.
Now I can think when I'm at work what I'm going to do with this money.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no, you can't do that shit.
Oh, that's a bummer.
You know how many times I buy the lottery ticket though, and then like 2-3 years later, I find it. I've never checked it. It's in a purse somewhere. And I'm
Oh
like,
no.
Right? I'm too scared at that time to even look because it probably did win and it's just too late. So I'm
Yeah,
that.
there's got to be a
6 months,
statute.
folks.
Oh, is that what it
months.
is? 6?
6
Oh,
months.
damn. Dang. What do you do?
Well, guys, I probably should jump off because I got work.
Yeah, it's
But
Yeah.
been
fun. It's been a lot of
2
fun.
hours plus. It stopped
Wowee.
telling me after 2 hours. So
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks for having us on. This has
Yeah,
been a
thank
heck of a
you.
good time.
yeah, no, it was really good. We should do this, a couple times a year or whatever, jump on together. and-
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Most definitely. Yeah, because Presto and I still have a whole workup on mushrooms we didn't even get to. So
yeah,
we'll
no,
have
just
to
give
get together on that.
breakthrough Can you do 5 minutes? I don't believe in this whole Siberian mushroom thing myself.
You
We can
don't
save
oh,
that
man.
for next Christmas.
Well, Preston, you got it, anybody?
Go for
Yeah, I
it.
got it in me.
All right,
Go
dude.
for it.
Okay. So let's see here. You start her off, Preston.
Right. So you think about every single like European culture, right? You got Saint Nicholas. Everybody's kind of got their own version of Santa Claus. Early versions, he was like a diminutive little troll. He had a pointy gnome hat. I just learned tonight that apparently in Canada, he knocks on the doors instead of going down the chimney. Like everybody's got their own little nuance for Santa Claus.
I might have been wrong about that. Let's just say that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I read it on the internet, so it's got to be true.
Yeah. It's your turn, buddy.
Oh, sorry.
Jesus.
This
Act
is
like
why we
we've done
edit.
this before.
I thought you were.
Dang.
I thought you went backwards. Never mind. Enough complaining.
Christmas book of the year.
Oh, the old magic of Christmas. Fantastic.
Ooh.
Well, if you spring forward back into like the 1930s, Coca-Cola is looking for like a new mascot, right? They don't have the polar bears yet. They're trying to boost sales in the cola industry. So they hire this graphic illustrator named Haddon Sunblom to create this
Wasn't
new.
Rash the first one who did the advertisements for Coca-Cola?
It could have been.
Yeah, okay.
It could have been. I used to know the answer to that question back when I was in design school, but they hired this guy named Haddon Sunblom anyway. And so he takes pencil, puts it to paper, and he creates this jolly old fat guy as we know him today off of all the commercial industry, right? He's got the big old pudgy belly, he's got the rosy red cheeks, and everything's cute and fuzzy like we know him today. Big red jacket and matching pants, all with white trim. And so on.
So some would argue like Norman Rockefeller inspiration, but
Norman
old Santa
Rockwell?
Claus, yeah, what did I say?
Some
Again.
oil baron.
Yeah, bullet points. Anyway, old Santa Claus actually got his inspiration for his classic red, white, and look not from the graphic artists for Coca-Cola, but instead from the Arctic shamans tripping balls on some really good shrooms near Siberia. That's right. Old Santa Claus got his inspirational look from a large part of his folklore from the, here's that Russian word I'm going to screw up, Koryak shamans. The Koryak shamans were famously known for wandering around the forest wearing long red robes decorated with white trim as they searched for magical little red mushrooms covered in white spots, like Toadstool off of Mario, aka the Media Muscaria mushroom. Yeah, the colors of their robes, honoring the mushrooms and the gift of their knowledge. And because they were walking around in the fucking snow and dirt all day, their reindeer-lined boots got all, gross and dark and black. Boom, Santa Claus right there.
Yep.
These mushrooms take a lot more prep work for anybody who wants to go out and try them. It's not as good as psilocybin.
Do we put a disclaimer here? Neither podcast recommends you go pick and eat random mushrooms.
No. Yeah, don't go eat random mushrooms, but don't buy a pound of mushrooms and have your dealer come back to you later in the night and say, "You ate how many?" So.
And we'll leave that where it lays.
Next Christmas, we are going for an argument against the Amanita muscaria.
There we go. All right.
The Christmas.
Being the Christmas mushroom. Well, whether you guys know it or not, the Amanita muscaria mushroom is incredibly iconic in its own right because it's the most commonly used mushroom in pop culture. You've seen it frequently in Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Yep, the Smurfs, and also the Super Mario Brothers, as I'm demonstrating right here. Yes, folks, I brought visual aids. The Mario Brothers mushroom is based off of the same exact mushroom. So anyway, these magical red and white mushrooms are commonly found growing under pine trees due to just how good the spores will attach to the pine needles. And then when they're ingested, they can cause some serious hallucinations. But just like we said earlier, you can't simply just pluck them from the ground and eat them raw, because ironically, they can also cause some seriously deadly stomach problems too.
Yeah.
So to start the process of making these little guys more edible, the Koryak shamans would gather handfuls of the Amanita muscaria mushrooms, bundle them inside of socks, and then hang them from the pine trees. That way they could start drying out, and then animals couldn't get to them easily enough. And once they were done, they'd gather up the psychedelic bounty and hang the mushrooms in stocking pouches above their fireplaces inside their yurts to completely dry them out.
But being in Siberia, Sean, and snowstorms, and then all the snow all of a sudden just piles up on the front door. How did old Mushroom Claus get the socks on the hearth? That's right.
Really
he opened
question.
up a fucking trap door on the top that they created. So when the snow packed up, you just climb up on the roof and go down the chimney. Bada bing, bada boom, baby. It's a gift that keeps on giving.
There you go. Just like you said, very, very common with a lot of similarities we're seeing in Christmas already.
Okay.
But-
Well, next year these guys are coming back on, but until then, stick
Yeah.
with your goldish, bluish mushrooms and have pleasant trips. Don't eat over 2 eighths because that's not a good idea. Not a good idea.
A modern day shaman.
Modern day shaman drinking Keystone Light. Don't eat over 2 eighths unless you're psychically ready for it.
So you got these holly jolly fat shamans. They're at home. They're chilling by the fire. They're popping these little mushrooms. Hopefully not too many. And the good stuff kicks in. The sky rips
Too many
open.
comes quick.
Yeah. And the world's secrets start revealing themselves. And then the blood would start to rush to their faces. Their cheeks would become hot and flush. And they couldn't stop laughing. And, ho, 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 ha, ha, ha.
At
There
that
you go.
point, you stop laughing. Like, next year we are going in depth.
Right.
I'm gonna get us all some Amanita muscaria mushrooms, and Deborah,
No.
you're not gonna smoke them. You're
I
gonna
actually-
eat them.
No, I do not.
Well, that's where you get the rosy red cheeks and the because they're all just tripping balls. That's right. But some people don't like the idea of just simply eating their magic mushrooms because, like you said a minute ago, Scott, sometimes too much is too much. And even though they've been dried out, they still carry high amounts of those toxins. And if you have too many, you get the old rumbly tummy. So,
Amanita muscaria specifically.
yeah.
So if you're
Nature's
dealing with
warning of,
psilocybin,
right,
deal
right.
with your own cause.
So shamans also discovered that they weren't the only ones that loved these psychedelic mushrooms. And in fact, reindeer would eat them up like candy. So here's what's interesting. When the reindeer eat the mushrooms, the digestive system is said to strip away most of those toxins, leaving all the good stuff to be pissed out.
Just like
And
the Frank
that's-
Zappa song, "Watch Out Where the Huskies Go, Don't You Eat the Yellow Snow." The shamans didn't listen to that, and they went outside and they scooped up that yellow reindeer snow into a mug, let it melt by the fire, and they fucking drank reindeer piss and tripped balls. Yeah. And when they had too much to drink, they go outside to take a leak, and the reindeer smelled the good mushroom aroma, and they lap up the shaman's mushroom pee. It's like the circle of life. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yep.
And that's what we'll get into next year. Actually, the Siberian shamans would eat the mushrooms and then they would piss into the cup and everybody would drink their piss because you can't digest Amanita muscaria. I can't wait until you guys try it next year. We are going to go on a fucking
Sleigh ride.
food poisoning agenda next year
Right.
on live TV.
Well, whenever maybe we'll witness this as well. When the reindeer get so high from the magic mushrooms, they start to get a little giddy. They start jumping around and running around faster because these mushrooms are said to give you a little more pep in your step. And so the shaman are inside tripping balls off of, just popping mushrooms, drinking reindeer pee, and they hear the ruckus outside. They go outside to see all the commotion. And if the snow has packed high enough, the next thing you know, you see these deer jumping up a little higher than normal, and they're, jumping over the yurt because the snow's packed so high. And thus it gives you the idea that, holy shit, man, these reindeer are flying. Just like Santa Claus is flying reindeer.
Well, next year, mine and Sean's cats are going to be flying like reindeers.
Are we giving our cats
Tune in
mushrooms too?
next year, motherfuckers.
Dancer and Prancer. There you go, all you cool ghosts and goblins. That's, I don't know, maybe how magic mushrooms save Christmas. Maybe. Apparently Scott's gonna send us to school and
Yeah.
Oh, I am. You got to give me some legitimate addresses. Do you want to give them off now or?
we can message them to you.
Yeah, next year. I think it would be better if we just did psilocybin because we don't want to go through the whole food poisoning thing. It'll be
Yeah, if I'm gonna
Deborah's
go through
first
that,
time.
if
Come
it's
on
going to be
now.
food poisoning, I'm going to go with the ayahuasca. If we're going to shit our brains out, I want to go on a real journey.
Fuck that.
You guys
We'll
make
just
this all
smoke
sound
some
so
toad
appealing. I don't
venom.
know.
Is it the crapping your pants or the vomiting that makes me really want to join you guys? No, there you go. Well, guys, this has been a whole heck of a lot of fun, and we really appreciate you having us on.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
absolutely. Good time.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming. I'm going to end the live stream. Preston, would you like to say goodbye with your stuff you do at the end of your show?
Yeah, stay spooky and stay on the paranormal highway, guys.
And cheers to the weird shit in the world and those of us that love to talk about it.
Okay, ending it off. Okay, let me stop recording.